Well, good evening to all of you joining us for this another Monday evening Marcia Weeks show. I am Reverend Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. It's my pleasure to co-host this evening with Marcia. She's going to be joining us in just a little while, but has always been, as always is, really. My pleasure to be able to host this Monday evening show with you and to have you here with us. Let me make sure I have this right. The loyal patriotic opposition. I want to make sure I have this right. A real good evening to all of you that are joining us tonight. Let me encourage you to share this YouTube connection that you have. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your colleagues, or share it with people in the United States, Canada. And incidentally, it would be nice to hear where you are viewing us from. So if you're not in Barbados, just put in the chat where you're from, and we'd be happy to acknowledge that from you. I see, yes, Sir Alfred Benjamin, you're back with us again tonight. Loyal sons and daughters all do hereby make it known. Thank you, sir, from Brooklyn, New York. Oswald Newton, wonderful to have you back with us again tonight. Heath Cliff, I hope I have that right, Heath. Good evening to you too. And just let me slip back up here and make sure I don't miss anybody. Don't want anybody to get jealous. Just want you to share, share, share. Zasha, I think I see a couple of questions there that you have, and I expect Kaz will be on with us tonight. So I'm going to put a couple of those questions his direction that you posted there. Tracy Barrow, a pleasure to have you back with us again tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. In Let's make sure I get this right. All loyal sons and daughters of the soil, Barbados and worldwide. Yes, lovely. Carol Barker, God bless you. Good night to you as well, Lamumba. Lamumba, I am great, sir, and so nice to have you here with us tonight. Wonderful to have you on with us. A real pleasure. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Maximus, that's Mr. Maximus. You song like that movie guy, that Gladiator Maximus. I saw that movie. Great movie, Mr. Maximus. Good night to you, sir. I'm doing great, Lamumba, and wonderful to see you on tonight. Mark Clark, good night to you as well. And Margaret, if you're joining us, as I said, from any other part of the world, just give us a heads up where you're joining us from. I see Sir Alfred joining us from Brooklyn in New York. So Alfred, I've only ever been to Brooklyn in New York once, many years ago. And I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll get back there. And if I do, I'll be happy to look you up and share a drink with you. Of course, you can do whatever you want with the drink, but I'm going to take Coke or Sprite or something. Something like that. All right. So really good to have all of you with us. Marlene, good night to you as well. Merlin O'Neill, good night to you too. I heard we had a good night last night at the Roadside Parliament with that filming of the Errol Barrow film. And I'm grateful for what Mr. Barrow has done for the country. I won't necessarily say that I am a member of his party or anything of that nature, but my mother taught me to give Jack his jacket when somebody does something well. You should commend them, and I have commendations for the current government and the prime minister as well. I don't think I don't. I mean, there are some things that she's done well, but there are some areas that she's not done so well, and we have some concerns, and we'll be chatting a little bit more about that as the night progresses. Alvin, great to have you join us again. Thank you, Mystic Angel. Um, yes, united forever. We are here and we are fighting for the well-being of our country. And I dare say that we're not the only ones. Everywhere I turn in the country, people are telling me, Rev, keep up the good work. We are so happy to see you guys, having a voice out there. There's so many that would like to be able to express some of the things that you say, but they don't have the opportunity or they feel afraid. And that's unfortunate. I really believe that people should be able to raise concerns, questions without being treated as treasonous. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Um, just because you disagree and you hold somebody's feet to the fire doesn't mean you should be referred to in such a disingenuous manner. And let me make sure I get the right word. I resent it. I resent it. If treasonous is a very serious statement to use concerning people in a country, and it sends out a signal that suggests that persons who are supportive of the individuals who may have expressed that kind of an expression should take on those who are opposed, and almost silence them or fight them or something of that. No, that is not the Barbados that we were raised with. That is not the Barbados I grew up in. It's not the Barbados we want for our children and for our children's children and our grandchildren. We want a country where people have the right to express themselves without slander and defamation of character, which is a matter of legality. But if they don't agree, they should be able to say so, state why they don't agree, and if there's an alternative solution, to be able to offer that and express it, and not be treated in this nasty, and I'm going to say it exactly how I feel it, this nasty, disingenuous way. That type of politics has no place any further in Barbados. If you feel the pressure coming from us, then you need to examine yourself and see why is it that there's some pressure coming from any particular area of the community. So don't let us descend into those nasty, disingenuous, intimidating comments. I think it was Michelle Obama, and I don't often refer to the Obamas at all, but I think it was Michelle Obama that made the statement, "When they go low, we go high." And that was the one thing that I agreed with her on. When you begin to descend into those name callings, and you see that's what politics has been in Barbados. And I was listening to Brass Tacks today, and I heard Mr. Blackman talk about how politicians in Barbados have always been this way, and he's right. It's on both sides of the divide, on both sides, on the Democratic Labour Party side and on the Barbados Labour Party side, because there've only been two parties that have really contested successfully in this country the general elections and run the country. That's the Barbados Labour Party and the Democratic Labour Party. So, when we have people who are not in agreement with you, you need to listen to what is being said, because criticism is a very important part of leadership. Criticism, and I'm going to repeat it, criticism is a very important part of leadership. You don't know everything. And I have often said to people, if I knew everything, I would be God and the world would be in trouble. Okay, so I am not God. You are not God. You don't know everything. The Prime Minister is not God. The leader of the opposition, Democratic Labour Party, is not God. They're human, and they need to listen to criticism, because it is in the context of criticism that you can often identify alternative ways to get things done, and to get them done more effectively, more efficiently, to the benefit of all concerned. So let's not descend into these nasty innuendo. I'm tired of it. You got people talking about ball, pooch, cat, and all this. Those days are over, man. Those days are done. Treat people with respect. My mother taught me every human being, regardless creed, color, skin, I don't care, is worthy of being treated with the respect of humanity. And so I take it very seriously when people, especially people in authoritative positions, look down on persons who they may think are stupid, not as educated. And interestingly, a lot of the solutions in our world have come from people who were considered not to be of the elite and not to be educated. You can think of some of the things, and I believe a number of them are attributed to black persons, refrigerators, air conditioners, lawnmowers, and we can go on and on. These are the very vehicles that you drive in, the things that you do, and not necessarily created by people who were the intelligentsia of the world. So don't look down on people. Don't look down on the garbage collector. If you look down on the garbage collector, you must try a day doing the garbage collector's job, and see what it's like. Last night we were at the Baxter's Road roadside parliament, and just about the time we had started, the garbage truck pulled up to remove some garbage from the side of the street there. And I will tell you the honest to God truth, the stench was horrific. And I was thinking to myself, my God, and these guys have to work in this stuff all the time, you know. But imagine what would happen in a country if they decided, you know what, we're done collecting garbage. So don't look down on them. Don't look down on the mechanic. Don't look down on the maid. They're doing a very important job, you know. I mean, I think it was, and of course, just let me be clear: the Marcy Wheat show is not a religious show. We do engage some aspects of religion from time to time. I'm a Christian minister. I'm a pastor. Marcy herself is a Christian. Caswell, you know, there are different persons. I saw Lumumba on here tonight. He's Rastafari, and we have hooked arms together and marched from Kensington to Independence Square, and we have shared together. And I love my brother, my brother Lumumba, Lumumba. Let me get it right, Lumumba. You know, wonderful person. That we've shared, you know, many things in terms of our commonalities of concerns, and this is where it's at. We are citizens of a country, regardless of the of religious titling and all that you have. We are Barbadians. And anything that will affect me is going to affect you, even if you are not a religious person. And so we want to be sure that we are addressing the issues, the concerns, and sometimes I will quote from the scripture, which is actually quite relevant, you know, to some of the foolishness we are seeing. You know, here's one for you. Here's one for you. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, they groan. So you can tell who is ruling by the response of the people. So if the people are rejoicing, you got a good ruler. If they're groaning, you got a wicked ruler. So you can make the assessment yourself and determine whether now, in this moment of 2023, we have leaders that are wicked, are leaders that are righteous. All right, you can make the call. And listen, wickedness doesn't necessarily manifest itself in an ugly looking character, you know. Some of the most wicked people you could find on the planet that have ever lived have been handsome, beautiful looking people that look like they couldn't harm a kitten or a fly. And they can be very wicked people. So don't fool yourself. And some of the righteous people don't look so good. You know, they're not the best looking. They don't have books and all that kind of stuff. And they're not the most eloquent speakers, and you know. So don't look down on people. Don't look down on people. Somebody once said to me, "Be careful how you treat people on the way up the ladder, because you might just meet them on the way back down." You know. So there are things that we really have to pay attention to. Pook spin. I hope I got that right. Pook spin. Good evening. Locked in and loaded from the United Kingdom. My goodness. Wow. All out there in the United Kingdom, England. Wow. Good to have you with us tonight, sir, ma'am. I don't know what you are. You got to tell me. You can send me a little private message or whatever. Jack Sobers, good to have you too. Llewellyn Eiffel, Everton Hunt, good night to you. You know, Reach, boy, listen, we here, man. We here. Don't worry. We're not going anywhere without you. All right. Wayne MacD Austin. I like that name. Wayne MacD Austin. Good to have you with us again tonight. Pete Wave 36. Pete, faithful as always, my friend. Great to have you again with us here tonight. We look forward to sharing a wonderful evening. We have some interesting persons that will be on in just a moment. We'll be joined by our first guest, Alvin Simpson. Yes, good to have you too. Wonderful. 206, and keep it building. Listen, before I get too much into the program tonight, let me just share with you a video that Marcia sent to me, that she asked me tonight to make sure I push it. So allow me to obey the instructions of my superior, because I'm co-host with her. Okay, so I want to make sure that I satisfy her with what she's asking me to do. Jack Murphy, good to have you. Jacqueline as well. Greetings to you as well. Good night, ND. Pleasure to have you with us tonight. We're up to 214. Joyanne Faith, good night to you too. Good night to everyone. Again, oh, more Steve. UK watching. Thank you more. We have another person from the UK watching again tonight. And so we're thrilled to have all of you joining us tonight. But let me take a moment and just share this video with you that Marcia has sent to me and asked me to share concerning an upcoming symposium here in Barbados on December, I believe it's December the 8th and December the 9th. And let me be sure I got it right, but you'll be able to see it in the video. So let's give it a look up here. Let me make sure I get it on the screen properly. And let's hear. Okay, I don't know. I can make it any bigger. I'm not the greatest expert at all this stuff. All right, so let's give it a.
Friends in Barbados,
Let
you're
me know if
warmly
you're hearing
invited
me.
to
All
attend an
right,
upcoming weekend symposium entitled Recover All, addressing the issues of family, gender, and sexuality.
are you
My name
hearing
is
it?
Philippa Davies, an attorney at law from Jamaica, and I will be speaking on the roots and fruits of the so called sexual rights agenda and how we can contend for truth in the public space. I'll also share on how marriage and family life God's way can reduce crime, improve public health, and boost GDP. The symposium starts on Friday, December 8 at 6:30 p.m., continuing on Saturday, December 9 at 9 a.m., and will be held at First Baptist Church, Constitution Road. Registration is free, but you have to register by Wednesday, December 6th, online at the marciaweeksshow.com. Please come out to be educated, edified, and equipped. The battle to preserve the image of God, the Imago Dei, is raging, but we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Looking forward to seeing you.
Great, great. Going to be. Did you hear that? Was that song okay there? Just want you to confirm that you heard it. Otherwise, I'll have to look back and see if there was something I was doing wrong or something of the sort. I've often told people when they're on some of the older people in my some of the older ones that are around my age, not my age, and the older ones that are around my age. I've often told them that when it comes to technologies like monkey handling gun. So the song was good. Thank you, Kaylee. Thank you so much. So you heard what was being said. So that was good to have you. Good to have you listening to that. We'll come back to it throughout the show tonight. Okay, so we'll be good to see you, Glenn. Wow, and Jack Sobers, it was okay. Thank you, sir. Great, great, wonderful. All right, so we're going to be looking forward to sharing that with you again later on in the show. We have a lot lined up for you this evening. We have Caswell that will be coming back in. We have Kimar that's going to be coming back in. But right now, we want to welcome to our show here on the Marcia Week show, Monday, November the 27th. We want to welcome Apostle Leroy Scantlebury. We want to bring him onto the screen. Good evening, sir. How are you? And welcome to yet another show of the Marcia Week show. I believe you were on before, but
Yes, sir.
great to have you back again. Good evening. Good evening.
Well, good evening to you, sir. It's great to see you. Trust all is well with you and the family. And thank you and Madam Weeks for inviting me to be on the show again on tonight. So I'm very happy to be here.
And good to have you. I hear there's some brewing stuff, Apostle. I hear there's some stuff brewing, not just only from your standpoint, and we'd love you to share, that aspect that is emerging. I will say, I won't say anything about it. I let you break the news. In the media, you get this breaking news, breaking news. Um, I've heard some breaking news about the potential possibility of some by-elections and all these different kind of things. I've heard rumors. I've
Rumors.
heard it
Yeah.
said. We
Rumors.
have to be very politically correct. I can't
Yeah.
come here and say it, but I've heard rumor.
Yeah.
Heard
Yeah.
some of these rumors.
I've
But
heard them.
apart
I've
from
heard
that,
some of them. I've heard
you
of
heard
those
some of them too.
rumors. Yes, I
Okay,
have.
great, great. But I have also heard another rumor. I heard another rumor, and that rumor has something to do with. I'm just scrolling back, man. You get so many messages coming in. I heard another rumor to do with a gentleman by the name of Apostle Leroy Scantlebury,
Uh-huh.
who is preparing a document.
Yes, sir.
And so we want to hear from you what this rumor is all about, what this document is all about.
Okay, well, let me share with you where this all started.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think it was about a year or so ago when we had the whole issue of replacing prayers with mindfulness, and there was this effort from the Ministry of Education, spoken by the Chief Education Officer, about this, wanting the children to be more mindful of COVID and the effects of COVID, and the fact that they were not trying to replace prayers with mindfulness, but more trying to get children to be mindful of the event of COVID and the effects of COVID. When I watched that particular video with the chief educational officer, the Lord spoke directly to me and says, "Now, this has to stop before it gets any worse." Right after that, there was the march for and then the subsequent event in Hero Square,
Mhm.
regarding the Watch Out My Children. I had the opportunity to speak at that event, and I called for a petition to be drafted for the removal of the Minister of Education and also the Chief Education Officer. Um, and subsequently to that, I was on the Marcia Week show where I again put forward that proposal, and I've now gotten to the point, after consultation with a number of individuals here in Barbados, to make sure that we had the draft and the wording of the document uh, properly constructed, so that we can then begin the process of presenting that to the public here in Barbados.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we have come to the point where we have gone ahead, we have drafted the document. It is being done under the NBKA, which is the New Barbados Kingdom Alliance, which is the political party that I happen to be the founder and president of. And so we have now started the process of um, creating the signatures and amassing the signatures across Barbados for presentation to the president of Barbados to ask for the immediate removal of both the Minister of Education and also the Chief Education Officer. I think the time has come for us to um, take action before the process that would lead to effective and constructive education of our children here in Barbados has been completely eroded. So we're
Mhm.
dealing with the mindfulness. We're also dealing, if you remember these events, we're dealing with the state of the mindfulness. We're dealing with the IDB test that they claim they had no knowledge of, when it is now being proven that they knew exactly when it was going to happen, and how it was going to happen, and why it was supposed to happen. Then we have the case of recently the signs that they were supposed to be at the school. Remember the case with the primary school there in St. Philip, where there was a sign that was erected, or signs were given to this school by an NGO, and one of the signs had actually an image of a female, an image of a male, and then one of someone in a wheelchair, and underneath of it was female bathroom, which suggested to the public that they were beginning the process of allowing both boys and girls to use the same bathroom. And then recently we had the situation at the Springer Memorial School, that travesty that was inflicted on the teachers and the students there. And again, we see this issue of no one wanted to take responsibility for these things. And the time has come for Barbadians to not just get on brass tacks and talk, not just talking, our little community areas, but the time has come to take action. And this is what this petition is all about. So let me just go ahead and read what we have written here. This is a petition
Well,
for the.
if I can cross you just for a
Sure.
quick minute, Apostle, because I do have the image. I do have the image of the petition which I can put up.
Okay,
and you can follow. We can follow the image while you read, because you're going to be looking at the text of the image. Is that right? The text of the content.
that's correct. This is the petition for the removal of both the Minister of Education and the Chief Education Officer, and it reads, as sovereign nationals of the Republic of Barbados, we hereby declare our lack of confidence in the Minister of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, and also the Chief Education Officer of the current Barbados Labour Party administration. We therefore demand their immediate removal from their positions with no opportunity for them to function in any office that affords them any access to any role as it regards the education of our nation's children. Okay, so that is the our declaration, and of course, right after that, we also have the petition form that individuals can actually sign. We also have started a petition online as well. At Citizens Go, you can actually go there and just type in removal petition for the removal from office on Citizens Go, and go ahead and sign the form. Now, the great thing is that we've already started to share, since we made the announcement also at our ministry on yesterday. We've also had some pastors and leaders who've already asked for information to be sent to their churches so that they can have their members to begin the process of signing the petition. So we are looking forward to a response from uh, Barbadians who are here locally, and also from right across the Caribbean and right across America, Canada, the UK, wherever you are as a Barbadian and you are concerned with the state of affairs as it regards our educational system and what has been done and how it has been done, and the fact that it seems like no one wants to take responsibility for what is actually happening here in Barbados where our children are concerned. As a man of God, I'm very, very concerned about it. And I'm not just talking, I'm taking action. And I'm hoping that we can amass at least 10,000 signatories so that we can make this presentation to the president of Barbados and also send a draft document to the Prime Minister of Barbados asking for the immediate removal of both the Minister of Education and the Chief Education Officer.
Well, we see that petition up there on the screen. I think you see that as well, Apostle? The
Yes, I can.
petition
Yes,
for
I can.
removal. It's at Citizen Go GO. I'm going to see if I can copy if I can copy the. You have to pardon me. These new technological things. I'm still learning them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Let
sir.
me see if I can copy it and put it in the chat. Because I think it will not only turn up here, but it should turn up. It should turn up on the Facebook page as well, and I think it should also turn up uh, in the live chat on YouTube. Where I'm just checking that. Yeah, it's on the YouTube there one as well, where you can click on it and you can go and sign that petition. Now, one of the things I will say, Apostle, that I raised in terms of the New Republic and the New Republic uh, um, Constitution. I haven't formally presented anything as yet, but I've been talking with a number of persons concerning the removal of a government by virtue of the citizens' signatures.
Okay.
We are now in a republic. A republic is a bit different, I think, from a democracy, in that we generally here in Barbados only elect a parliament. Many people fail to realize that we do not elect a prime minister. All
Right.
we do is we elect a parliament, and the majority of the parliamentarians who identify an individual in parliament to be the prime minister, show to the Speaker of the House and to her and to the Governor General at the time. It would now be the president, I believe, who would be the preferred individual to be prime minister. And it has held down through the years that generally the
Right.
leader of the party has assumed the position. But in a republic, and I think the whether we like to admit it or not, I think probably the best example of a republic that I'm aware of is the United States, in the sense that the
Okay.
people select Parliament, what is called Congress there. The people select Senate, what I think is called Senate there as well, and
Hmm.
the people select the president. And I am advocating for all three of those positions to be placed on the ballots in Barbados, where
Okay.
the people decide who's going to be prime minister, the people decide who's going to sit in Senate, and the people decide who's going to sit in Parliament, which of course
Very
would be
good.
the Congress, because a republic, by definition, as far as I'm aware, is by the people, of the people, for the people.
Correct.
And
Correct.
so I felt that within that context, the people should be able to garnish a certain number of signatures to present to the president,
Hmm. Right.
requiring the president to require of the prime minister the call for an election. Because as it stands right now, the only person who can call an election in Barbados right now is the prime minister.
Right. Right.
Only person. So
Right.
come hell or high water, don't care what you think or whatever. You got to take me for the next 5 years, like it or
Right.
not.
Right.
I think in our changing system, in our changing politics, we need to place that power within the hands of the people. I think we've seen enough abuse of it. So I want to encourage you guys to pay attention to this petition that is here. I too, Apostle, have been disgusted. I will use the word disgusted by the attitude of the
Right.
Minister of Education, very bombastic type of individual.
Right.
Uh, I don't know her personally. I'm very hesitant. I can only affix to a person what I see. I can't affix to them what I do not see.
Right.
And I have found in the individual a person who feels that they are beyond correction.
Right.
This,
Right.
I don't
Right.
know what your observations have been.
Well, I've along the same lines, I want to actually put this plug here because I don't think it's fair that a person that never presented themselves for election should ever hold an office in Barbados. That's one of my main issues.
And
Okay.
you're speaking to the aspect of the office of cabinet, where they
Yeah.
hold a ministerial position. Would that be
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
And
go on.
they and never put themselves forward or offer themselves to be a servant of the people. Again, I have a problem with that. But I've seen, if you remember, with the IDB test, when we did have um, the press conference with the Minister of Education, she actually said that they sat to determine who would speak to the public first. But then when she spoke to the public, she said, as the Minister of Education, the buck stopped with me. So if the buck stops with you, then you should speak first. You should never be in a situation where you're determining, okay, well, we'll let the chief education officer speak. If you're the one to be held responsible and accountable for this, then it should never have taken an entire week before you come to the public. We have the same situation with the Spring Memorial fiasco, where again, the chief education officer speaks to the public, and the minister of education is nowhere to be found. This, in my opinion, is a person who is literally shirking their responsibility. And I think because of this nature, and again, even recently with the whole state of improving the whole state of educational reform here in Barbados. Again, you have the chief educational officer that's coming out and speaking to the public. I mean, where is the Minister of Education? I mean, are you too busy to talk to the people directly? So all of these are things that have um, compounded the fact that we cannot continue to allow this level of activity to take place. But on a higher level, my depth of anger with this is because I've realized that these individuals are not doing this on their own. They're following a script that is handed to them by a higher entity. And I think the time has come to even take the steps to block those entities from having the right people in place, because basically these folk are just towing the line. They're just doing exactly what they're being told to do. So this constitutes a danger for our educational system. It constitutes an even greater danger for our children.
Hmm.
And in my mind, I think the time has come to stop it, not talk about it, but to stop it. And this is one of the reasons why I'm um, very resolute, let me use that term, about this petition. And I'm hoping that individuals here in Barbados and across the world, Barbadians around the world, realize that we have a serious situation right here, not only in the educational system, but we have a major problem with this administration. I said this before. I said this is the most demonic administration we've ever had. I got a lot of lashes for it, but nevertheless, it's proven to be an accurate statement. And again, as a man of God, we cannot expect this nation to go where God wants it to go when the leaders of the nation have sold the nation out. The leaders of the nation are working hand in hand with those individuals who want to destroy Barbados, who are working with other international organizations. And then when you have leaders who are walking hand in hand with the demonic. So, and not only myself, but other church leaders and ministers across Barbados, we have to understand that the church has an important role to play. And so many individuals have been asking, where's the church? Where's the church? Why isn't the church speaking out? Well, they are elements of the church that are speaking out, and we will continue to speak out until we have awakened more individuals to the reality that we are on the verge of losing our nation. We're on the verge of this island being taken so far away from God, so far away from the Lord Jesus Christ. And now the opportunity that we have to nip this in the bud is here. And this is one of the reasons why I've stepped up to the plate as a man of God, in spite of what people feel or think. But I see the bigger picture. I see what needs to be done. And I'm doing what I need to do as a man of God to safeguard the future of Barbados, not only in terms of its destiny, but also in terms of our children being exposed to the right and proper, correct principles and policies that will, bring our educational structure and system to the place where it needs to be.
Well, Apostle, the a lot of this script, whoops, a lot of this script of which you speak has been in place for some years now.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
think I think what happened was that the pandemic gave an excellent platform
Right.
to release it.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
believe, one of the things I observed was that at the beginning of his tenure, um, Dr. Fauci warned President Trump that he would have to handle a global pandemic.
Right.
And I
Okay.
remember the questions were raised. How would you know that? How did you know that? I mean, it was not. I saw the interview, and it
Right.
was not a speculative statement he made. This was a statement of affinity. It was a conclusive statement, as if he knew
Right.
what was going to happen. And the evidence and the information has shown us now. It's now become clear. People thought it was conspiracy theory and all this rubbish. And I remember our prime minister sitting in an interview at the beginning of the pandemic when people
Okay.
were expressing alternative views, both for medications and different kinds of things, that she sat in an interview and she made the statement that they need to be able to shut down all this misinformation. I heard her
Right.
with my own ears.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think what happened was that the pandemic gave a platform for these globalists. And we
Okay.
talk about them, and it's almost as if people in Barbados don't know they exist or think we're
Mm.
telling stories or something of the sort.
Conspiracy theorists. Yeah. I know. I
Yeah,
know.
because one of the things I have observed, and I'm mindful of the fact that there are a number of persons on our show from time to time who are not necessarily as religiously inclined even as ourselves are.
Right.
But the one thing I observe that we share in commonality are values of our country.
Right.
And
Right.
I observe that those values have to emerge from a belief system of a country.
Correct.
And
Correct.
our fundamental belief system has been that of Christianity. And I
Correct.
dare say that if one were to look back through the pages of history to see what Christianity and the church has contributed to the landscape of Barbados,
Hmm.
um, while there are those who did it for some ill intent,
Right.
the majority of us have benefited from education. We have benefited from the rights of the improvement of the rights of women, voting.
Right.
We've seen all the things that Mr. Barrow himself
Hmm.
brought to the platform in terms of free education, free health care. All of these are things that emerge out of the belief system that we were soundly, solidly rooted and grounded in.
Right.
And what we see happening today is that in order to access the necessary funding for the development of the country, which Mr. Barra, I understand, actually conceptualized and started the whole aspect of incurring debt in
Right.
order to develop the country. Now,
Right.
for persons on the platform and maybe people who will watch the show later, there's nothing wrong with incurring debt as long as you can pay it.
Correct.
Nothing wrong with that.
Correct.
People get on as if,
Right.
is some sin or evil or something of the sort
Hmm. Right.
to take a loan and borrow.
Right.
So we understand the necessity for the development of a country, especially a country like Barbados that lacks
Right.
the resources. I think it was last night I said to someone that the only resource Barbados has right now is people.
Correct.
We
Correct.
don't even have tourism, Apostle, because tourism could shut down tomorrow morning with a problem here in the island, whether it's unrest or strike or something like that. We could lose our entire tourism product within 24, 48 hours, and
Right.
nobody comes here for whatever
That's
reason.
true. That's
Uh,
true.
and I remember as a youngster when I was growing up, I think I might be a little older than you are, that we were developing 186,000 tons of sugar. Sugar was our number one economic earner in
Yes, sir.
Barbados. 186,000 tons, I remember, under the Tom Adams um, government.
Hmm.
And then, of course, we've seen it decline to the point now where we
Yeah.
can't even identify 10,000 tons of sugar to
Right.
service the local market.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so when I look at the whole aspect of what is being expressed by our government, I want people to understand, and maybe you can comment on this. I want people to understand that there are global and international agencies that are demanding these changes if we as a country must access funding.
Right.
Right? We have the World Economic Forum, we have the World Health Organization, we have the United Nations and the European Union. This
Right.
Samoa, I don't know how familiar you are with the Samoa Agreement. It is 403 pages long, but there are some subtle, deceptive comments in it. I don't know if you have observed those comments
Hmm.
uh, that relate to education and
Correct.
health.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
As,
if there's something there within the context of what you are attempting to do that you can highlight. I will try to find it while you're speaking that I can put it
right.
up and others can see.
Well, one of the and you're absolutely correct about understanding and having the kind of intelligence that we need as church leaders to be on par with what's going on in our nation. And they are amazing organizations out there who are doing their best to cripple, developing countries like Barbados. I think what you mentioned earlier about the debt to actually improve the country. One of the things that we have to understand about debt is that debt is now the greatest point of investment. I think we realized that back in 2005, 2006, when we had the whole shutdown of Lehman Marcus and Barclays and AIG and all of these individuals who were betting against people not being and countries not being able to pay their debts. So debt is a big issue right now. But what I started to see in Barbados is the problem. The problem is you stop your people from becoming wealthy and successful, because the more your people become successful, the less you get to borrow. So the plan is you maintain a certain level of poverty in your nation that allows you to borrow more. And I've seen that over and over with both administrations. So you will see that the standard of living that was improving under Mr. Barrow and in some levels under Tom Adams and those individuals who allowed it. Once we had a new crop of political leaders, like the authors and now presently like the Thompsons and like presently uh, Miss Motley, you see where the average citizen in Barbados did not really stand a chance to really have that quick and decisive improvement. But now you're seeing it more and more. So the more that you have poverty, the more that you have challenges with your educational structure, the more that you have challenges with the family unit, the more that you have the widespread um, poverty and crime, all of a sudden now you have the opportunity to borrow large sums of money. And COVID opened up the opportunity for our government to be a part of a worldwide scamdemic that allowed them to borrow billions of dollars. But yet we did not, and we have not seen much of where that money has gone to. So I want to actually bring to our understanding what is actually happening. So there is a poverty maintenance for large sums of money coming from international organizations like the IMF, the World Bank, the UN, the World Economic Forum, all of these G8, G20 summits that they're having, and all these issues of global warming, all of these are all a part of the scam to send money to a nation, increase the debt ratio of that country, increase the cost of living in a nation, keeping the people on a certain level of poverty, which allows them to continue to borrow. Now, I'm going to go back and say this. Of course, we know what the Word of God says, that the servant, the
Yes,
borrower,
borrows the
becomes the
lender.
servant to the lender. And
Yes.
this is exactly what Barbados is becoming, a servant to the lender. And our leaders are selling us out for the price of a dog very cheaply, because they are a part of this international agenda to make sure that Barbados is compliant with what these world entities want, especially for smaller developing nations. Now, I noticed that when I talk to some of my friends in Trinidad and ministers in Trinidad, they've been very outspoken with this whole Samoa agreement. And we understand that Jamaica literally said, no, we're not going to do this, because this is like the final nail in the casket where our nations are concerned. And what I want our listeners to understand, that when these things are happening, we have to take action, and we have to take action right now, because our nation, Barbados, 166 square miles, 283,000 persons, we have a serious issue as it regards having the right type of leadership. And we're talking visionary leadership, which we have not seen in the last 26 years. And I'm going to say this before I turn it over to you. In the last 27 years of um, governance in Barbados, no administration has ever brought a vision to the people of Barbados. And you think about it, whether DLP or BLP, I mean, and they've led our country for a long time, but never once did they bring a vision to the people of Barbados to tell us where we're going to be in 5 years after the term of their administration is over. And this is where we've been suffering. And we understand that where there's no vision, the people perish, not the government. The government folk, they're going to come away with more money in their pockets, more money in their accounts, but the people are going to perish. And this is exactly what we're seeing, Rev.
Well, there will be those, Apostle, that are going to push back at you and tell you, well, we always deliver. Let me make sure I remember the word correctly. We always deliver a manifesto. And, a
Yeah.
manifesto is supposed to be our vision for the 5 years that we're in office. I was listening to Kimar last night in a brief session that he shared at the roadside parliament, and he was talking about the vision that Errol Barra had, and the conflict that it resulted. And I think it was today as well. I heard it. The conflict that resulted between himself, Errol Barra, and Grant Lee Adams, and some of the older older politicians, because they didn't see that the then Barbados Labour Party, I think it was charting a vision for the country, and
Okay. Right.
and so we saw this emergence out of the Barbados Labour Party, the current Democratic Labour Party,
Mhm.
with Mr. Barrow bringing the country from under the control of their colonial masters, which,
Okay.
as I have observed it, is not as much as we think it is. It really gave us the capacity to establish our own legalities
Mhm.
and legal systems, but in a sense, we still found ourselves under their thumb,
Right.
if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I've observed is that in becoming a republic, we have just simply traded colonial masters from the 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 UK to the imperialists, and I'm using some of these provocative words, the imperialist masters of the International Monetary Fund,
Right.
who are
Right.
funded, whose largest donor is the United States of America. And this entire LGBTQ2 plus agenda, and I'm focusing on the agenda, Apostle,
Right.
because
Right.
I have spoken with some of the members, not only here overseas, who are LG. Let me make sure I get it right. They're the lesbians
LGBTQ
and the
plus.
gays and the homosexuals who take offense to being incorporated along with transgender and all the rest of it,
That's
and
true.
who
That's true.
indicated that they are really not trying to change a system. They just want to be able to access their civil rights,
Hmm.
not to be threatened, not to be discriminated against because of their choices, sexually, and so on. But they have no intention of trying to change a country's
Right.
um, legal system. Now that's the people, but there's a difference. I was talking with someone today. There's the difference between the agenda and some of these people who
Right.
themselves are
Right.
not in agreement with the agenda,
Right.
because this agenda is being driven. And I want you to understand this. Joe Biden and the United States government specifically are driving this agenda.
Hmm.
If people haven't realized
That's
that
true.
yet, let me educate you tonight. Because I don't even know if I can put my hands on it. When I was running in the elections in 2022, I shared a clip from I think it was either the Washington Post or something like that, in which the United States, by consensus, passed a resolution in the United Nations tying sexual orientation and gender identity to your capacity to vote. Now, I had never seen that anywhere on the planet. I didn't
Right.
know that
Okay.
at any point in time anybody ever asked you anything about your gender as a right to vote. I've never seen that. I don't know. I don't know if others have. I've never
I've
seen
never
it.
heard of it.
I've never heard of it. But it was introduced in the United Nations, and a number of the African states um, were going to voice their ambassadors were going to voice objection to it, but they were intimidated under the fact that the United States have tied funding to the acceptance of this agenda. In
Right.
other words, if you don't
Right.
accept the agenda, you get no funding.
Right.
If you
We had
accept
that
the
from England
agenda,
as well too. We had that
yes.
from England when Boris Johnson was um, prime minister.
And I want people to be clear. You know, sometimes Apostle, the people can think that we hate these folk, and I,
Right.
I keep trying to tell people, no, we don't. But
No.
sometimes
No.
love can be tough.
Right.
You know, I think it was in the book of Hebrews that it says that whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and chastiseth every one of
Correct.
his children. So some,
Yeah.
I mean, even as parents, we know that sometimes we have to administer.
Right.
I remember years ago, I remember years ago, I saw a little caption. I saw a little caption in the media of a parent administering lashes to the child, and the parent was saying, you know, this is hurting me more than you, and the
Right.
child is saying, well, give me the cane. You know, but the reality of it is that God doesn't hate these people; He hates
No.
their sin and their lifestyle. But Jesus Christ, and forgive me, folk, if I venture into a little religiosity for a couple of seconds. Jesus Christ loves all humanity and gave his life for all human beings, including our prime minister.
Right.
But when you're wrong, you're wrong.
Right.
And there is no amount of religious anything that is going to change the fact that when you're wrong, you're wrong.
Right.
And so this agenda is driving all of the economics, huh, Apostle?
Right.
This
Yes, it
agenda
is.
is
Yes,
the
it
thing
is.
that's driving.
Yeah.
This is the engine behind all of the economic policies.
Right.
And
Yes.
I don't know if you observed that recently the World Economic Forum appointed an LGBTQ2 plus
Yeah.
individual to be a part of their leading component
Right.
of the World
Right.
Economic Forum.
Yeah.
And when I saw that happen, I knew if you look on the screen, I don't know if I can get it how to get it done. I hope I can get it done right. These were the three articles that were
Right.
raised in the Samoa Agreement. And incidentally, Apostle, this has been raised by a number of agencies in the world, not just us.
Right.
Faith Family Watch, Dr. Dobson, Dr. Clyde Naramore. Uh,
Hmm.
these are well known individuals in terms of family focus and so on. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
there are a number of media outlets, Redacted, OAN, a number of the more conservative, not the liberal, crazy ones like CNN and all of that. I stopped watching CNN years ago. Raise these concerns because you can see here Article 36, and I want people to read this. The parties commit to this is the people who sign on to this document, and which
Right.
is, I understand, you are bound to it for 20 years.
Right. Yes.
You are locked in for 20 years. And it says, uh, I'm going to drop down to the, well, let me read the thing. The parties commit to the full and effective implementation of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action and the Program of Action of the International Conference on Population Development and the outcomes of their review conferences, and commit to sexual and reproductive health and rights in this context. Now, we all know
Right.
that that is a diplomatic way of saying abortion.
That's correct.
Because when the United States president spoke about reproductive rights and women's health. It had nothing to do with women's health.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
It,
Absolutely
it,
nothing.
it was all about abortion. The
Yeah.
second article talks about including sexual and reproductive health again. But look at it.
Right.
These include, but are not limited to, the rights to education, health, including, and listen to this, education and health, including sexual and reproductive health. Of course, education within the context of that, in which we know that means educating our children.
Our children. Right. Which is the comprehensive sexual educational um,
Look at
push
right
that
there.
they're.
Look at right there, Article
Mhm.
48. Look at right there. I mean, it's in writing, and to think
Yeah.
and to think that the minister of I don't know if he's the foreign affairs or whatever, Mr. Simmons, had the gumption to come in the media and talk rubbish about nothing threatening where this Samoa agreement is concerned, when there are
Yeah,
so many entities globally that have raised
yeah,
concerns with regards to this.
very much so.
And
Let me
hence, yeah, go right
let,
ahead, please.
let,
Jump right
let
in.
me let me just jump here and say this in agreement with what you mentioned
Do you want me to clean
earlier
this up?
about yes, that would be fine.
Uh-huh.
The reality of us not hating individuals, because I've had a number of individuals that said that I don't like the prime minister. I don't, and as a man of God, I cannot go around hating people. But here's one of the things that I understand from Peter's encounter of Simon in Acts chapter 9. When he met Simon, who had bewitched the the entirety of Samaria, when he came to offer Peter money, when he saw that the Holy Spirit was imparted into individuals by the laying on of hands, he said, I need to get some of this power. And he went back to his old system of using money improperly to achieve power. And this is part of what is happening within Barbados and from Barbados. But Peter looked at Simon and he said these words to him. He says, your money and you perish together because your heart is completely wrong in the sight of God. And what we understand as men of God, and what I understand, is that the hearts of those who are leading us are not in alignment with God any longer. So everything that is anti God is okay with them. When you have an agreement like this, and you can actually have a minister or ministers of government actually have no problem, and there are some in government who say that they are Christians. So when you have an entire government where all 30 of them or all 29 of them can say, okay, you know what? I don't see a problem with this. You don't see a problem with educating our children with comprehensive sex education. You don't see a problem with our boys and girls being taught about things that they don't need to be taught about at this season of their lives. Then you don't see a problem with all of the wrong people teaching our kids this stuff. And you are a minister of government. This is where we have a problem. So the problem that I have is the condition of their hearts where God is concerned. And then I understand the Apostle Paul when he speaks about the whole issue of homosexuality in Romans chapter 1 and then into Romans 2. He says, because they refuse to retain God in their minds, he said they became unthankful and they became unholy. And because they refused to retain God in their minds, they preferred to worship the creation rather than the creator. That is a place where an individual has moved away mentally, completely mentally away from God. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with individuals whose minds and hearts are no longer on the plane of proper moral standing where human beings are concerned. And this is detrimental going forward. And this is one of the reasons why it is the responsibility of the church to stand up and to protect the sanctity of life, the sanctity of all rights to be Christians, all rights to raise our children the way we need to. As a matter of fact, we don't see this nonsense being permeated among the Muslims. We don't see them pushing this stuff at the Muslim schools. We don't see them doing anything of that nature. So we're asking the question, why is there an amazing attack on Christianity, on divine activity within a nation? Why is it that our children are being targeted within the educational structure in Barbados that was formerly connected to the church. Okay, I went to the All Saints Boys Schools that was connected to the All Saint Anglican Church. We had prayers every Monday morning before we started school. We had prayers. Reverend Bell would come. We had prayers on Friday evening before we left school for home for the weekend. I do not understand why it has become a no issue with Christians in Barbados. This is something that we need to stand up and fight. But the
Yes,
reality is that with the minds of these individuals, the whole idea of, and I'm going to say this, we cannot just walk around and say, oh, our prime minister she's a great orator. That's all we get. Someone that can talk well, someone that can speak well. Is that what Barbados is supposed to be um, rated by? We have a destiny and we have a place in God that I believe is second to none. Many things have been spoken over this country, and what I can see is that we are moving away from where God wants us to be. And I dare say, as a man of God, I will not sit by idly and let it happen. And I want to also speak on this because I'm going to be doing very soon an expose on this. Right across our island right now, there are many murals that are set up. I have three here in Spikestown, the St. Peter area, and they're all set up as part of the witchcraft structure that we have here in the island. And this is one of the reasons why our people seem to be so listed, because they do not understand spiritual things. So, Rev, I go back to what you've been attempting to say here. We have a serious situation on our hands. And when we have individuals who govern us, who come to the public and they say, well, I don't see anything wrong with this agreement. There's nothing in it that constitutes a problem for me. We have a problem. We have a problem.
but
And it is
you have
important.
people. Sorry, you have people who just simply can't see. It's almost as if they're blinded.
Correct.
Something has
Correct.
almost like what was the old saying? Almost like I don't want to say cataracts.
Okay.
Has blinded their eyes to the values, because I am observant of one thing, that people in Barbados are more committed to their political parties than they are committed to the values of their country.
That's true.
And it's one
That's
of
the
the
true
reasons
point.
I walked away from the Barbados Labour Party as it currently is constituted.
Right.
Because what I saw was a degeneration of the values of our country. The number
Right.
one value of any country is its family.
Yes.
Number one value.
Right.
A country is as strong as its families are. If that family unit is I don't want to use the word disintegrated, but if it is in any way, shape, or form compromised, the entire society begins to run into trouble. I remember President Obama, I think it was, that drew our attention to the fact that the majority of Black Americans, African Americans, let me be politically correct, the majority of African American men that were incarcerated came from households that were fatherless.
Okay. Okay.
I stand to be corrected, but I believe I heard him or saw some comment somewhere. And
Right.
and one of the things that we have had to deal with in the context of the Caribbean, not just Barbados, the Caribbean, are the single parent households that lack the presence of the authority figure of the man. And I appreciate the women. I think the women understand the
Yes.
necessity of having a man. And I don't mean having a man that way, so you all don't
Right.
worry to write up anything on this chat for me. Having a man present in the
Right.
family, and carrying the responsibility of the helping, of the training of a child, and the indoctrination. Listen, I am not going to make an apology with the word indoctrination.
Right. Okay.
Everybody indoctrinates their citizens. We got politicians indoctrinating. We got the World
Yeah.
Health trying to indoctrinate us. We got
That's right.
the economic forum trying to indoctrinate us. Indoctrination can either be good or bad. Don't quarrel about indoctrination. It's just like a match. You can use it
That's right.
to burn things down, or you can use it to cook or to the benefit. But not meaning to divert away, Rev, because we got some more stuff here coming up. I don't know if you can stay on and maybe help us, share in the days in the minutes to come. But this, I just want to get back for a minute, if I can, to the petition. I want to
Yes.
just ask you again, because we've had a number of people join since we showed the petition. All right. If you could get back to that petition, I will bring it back up again, and you can again speak to that petition that you began to talk with us about. I'm just trying to get back on my WhatsApp so I
Okay.
can pull it back up again. But you can go ahead. I will put up the website. All right, I will put that website up, and you can again share with regards to that petition.
Okay. Well, again, as I said before, this was in the making, and the last time that I was with the Marcy Weeks show, I did mention to her that I was in the process of putting this petition together. And Rev, I am so absolutely serious about what I'm doing, because I understand the need right now to have these two individuals removed from their office. Um, what was also very, very, very sickening is to hear them say, based on the situation, they saw no need for a person to resign. If this had happened, if an event like what happened at the Spring Memorial School had taken place in any other nation, guaranteed there would have been uh, calls for resignation. And again, we are sitting back in Barbados and allowing these things to happen. Now, I'm going to leak this because in my investigation of that last situation of the Spring Memorial School, I found out through investigation that that situation was to go on for 10 minutes based on the system, the structure of it. It only lasted for 4 minutes. Now, think about if those parties involved had continued that for the full 10 minutes, Rev. What do you think would be the state of those kids and the fact that somebody could have been shot because the police, I understand the police and the defense force came there in tactical gear. They came there to
Seriously?
do, yes, it was actually supposed to last for 10 minutes. But after the response and the hysteria, the fear and the panic that was there, it was shut down for in 4 minutes time. That's through my investigation. So I'm saying when you come and you're going to sit in front of us, you're going to tell us that the the persons who came in onto the school compound, they were members of the army, the defense force. You have a press conference. Nobody from the defense force is there to speak. Okay, when you are asked in relation, and the principal, she was asked about the parties who played the rules of the individuals coming onto the school. She said she cannot speak to that at this moment. Well, you said on Starcom Network, and I heard the report on Starcom Network that the persons who acted, played those roles, were members of the defense force. Well, I got information from within the defense force that it was no one from the defense force that played those roles. So we cannot sit back and continue to allow individuals to come and sit in front of us, lie to us, and make us look like fools. Okay, that is a massive level of deception, trickery, and you know, we have to make sure that those are not the kind of people that we have leading us. So for those individuals who are watching us tonight, the time is here for us not to just talk, but the time has come for us to take a stand. And this is what this petition is all about. And I'm really hoping that I can have Barbadians who realize that our country is in trouble, who realize that we are sitting under a very serious dystopian type of leadership. The time is here to remove these individuals. And if we have to start firstly with the Minister of Education, the Chief Educational Officer, and if it gets to the point where we, the people, we have to, in this republic, this fake republic that we're now sitting under, if we have to constitute a document to ask for the removal of this administration, that would create a huge blockage to what these globalists want to do within Barbados, and then have an interim government structured, and then move forward to elections here in Barbados. But the time has come to dismantle this operation that we have here in Barbados. The time has come to liberate our people. The time has come for us to have our own Barbados exodus out of the colonial system, out of those individuals who are still serving massa subliminally. The time is here for the church to stand up. The time is here for individuals like you and myself who understand the need to break down the structure so that we can reinstate, reconstitute the system of the kingdom of God within our nation, and bring our nation to the place where we can say to all of Barbados, and we can say to God, here's Barbados. We brought it to you. We are now under a kingdom structured government. Tell us what your will is for this nation, and we will obey you. And I think the time to really put this petition out there is important. So individuals, you can get in contact with us here at World Harvest Ministries International. Our numbers are 422-5150. You can email me here at LSM INTL1. That's Leroy Scanterbury Ministries International 1 at gmail.com. You can get in touch with Sister Marcy as well too. We're going to be posting this on our Facebook feed, our page, and we want Barbadians from all over the world who realize we need to do something now. We need to do something now, not later, not just talk. We need to take action now if we're going to save our country, we're going to save our future, we're going to save our children.
Well, Apostle, we really want to thank you for taking the time tonight to come on and talk about this petition. I want to remind all of you we put it there in the chat. I think that should also be in our YouTube, on the YouTube page. That you can click on it. You can go straight to the petition page, which we had up a little earlier. I think it's citizengo.org.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a /ENUS.
Yep.
Anyhow, it's there.
Yep.
There. Is that the same one? I just want to make sure we have the
That's
right
correct.
one up there.
Yeah. Immediate resignation. You just go to that one, immediate resignation.
Straight to that one.
Yeah.
And you can sign it there and share it. I believe Citizen Go will also give you the capacity to put it on your Facebook page. It will also give you the capacity, I think, to WhatsApp
YouTube,
it to your friends and email
Twitter,
it.
whatever you have.
Get it out there, folk. Get it out there. I am gunning for one major resignation, though, Apostle, but I won't talk about that right now.
I got you.
But thank you so much, sir. It's been a pleasure having you on. Well, the queen of the show, Apostle, is on.
Yes,
I have to submit to my authority. She is my authority on this show. She
listen. You're doing such a great job. You're doing such a great job. In between my classes, I was watching you, and you know it's a joy to listen to you, Pastor Freddie. Really, it is.
Yes,
but I had to try to come on at the same time. You know, I rushed to get on here after class to be with Apostle Linroy, because I want to commend him. You know, I get on the show and I don't care. It don't matter who it is. I'm gonna talk about the pastors. I talk about the church. I talk about the
Yes, she
DLP.
does.
I talk about the BLP. I talk about everybody.
Yes,
Everybody.
ma'am.
You know, any group, all the groups of people that I believe that they are sitting down, they're not doing anything, they're oppressing the people, because sometimes some of these pastors oppress the people too. I come in here and the church people get vexed with me and so on. But you know, tonight I wanted to come on to commend Apostle Linroy, because remember, he came on and he said he was going to do it. You remember,
Yeah, yeah.
doctor? He said he was going to do it, and I passed. I in the class. I passed where my husband is sitting, and he said he actually did it. He actually did it.
You
and
mean to tell me that there's actually somebody involved in politics in Barbados who, when they say they're going to do something, actually do it?
well, you know, tonight I'm commending him as a pastor, because
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
we go hard against the pastors on the show. I am telling you. And so tonight I want to commend you. I want to commend Pastor Ferdinand. They were talking about him at the roadside parliament, because you know, ministers, if you remember the history, there is Critchlow. You remember Reverend Critchlow,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? And he was the one who preached against Barrow that we loved. Barrow started to go off, you know, Apostle. There was a time Barrow started to go off and got arrogant. And that
Mhm.
Reverend Critchlow, I believe is his name, it's
He
Critchlow.
was Dean Critchlow of the
Dean
St.
Critchlow,
Michael's Anglican Church.
Right.
Harold Critchlow,
Taught
Dean
me
That's
in
right.
Harold
school.
Critchlow. And he, every Sunday morning, he would be preaching against Barrow. You believe, you
Yep, I
understand,
remember
but
that.
every
I
Sunday
remember that.
morning, and people would crowd around his thing. And his thing, I had the opportunity of interviewing him, dear sirs. And what he said was that he felt that God had called him to stand up for righteousness.
Right.
Correct. Correct.
You know,
Correct.
and so Kimar is on, and Kimar always talk about the place of the church. So when people say, oh, the church shouldn't be doing this and the church shouldn't be doing that, well, here we have two men of the cloth on here, and they're standing up flat-footed for righteousness, regardless of who is in power. It should
Right.
not, we should not change our tune, you know, if our friend is in power.
Right.
We need to be able to, if we can't do that, there's an integrity problem.
Mhm.
Well, you see, Marcia, that's why I said that we are more committed. Barbadian people are more committed to their politicians and to the political parties than to
Right.
the values of the country. And you know, I said something last night. I think it was at the roadside parliament when I read the second line, the second verse of the national anthem. And I
Mhm.
said, the Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. With him still on the people's side, we have no doubts or fears. But you can't
Mhm.
get him on your side unless you do what he says.
Right.
It's as simple
Good
as
point.
that. You
Good
know,
point.
so he will bless us as a country when we are walking in a place that satisfies him. And
Right.
that is the only time we are going to see our country blessed.
That's right. Well,
But
Rev,
you see,
I'll tell you,
go ahead, Pastor. Go ahead,
uh,
Apostle.
uh, a number of years when I started, two things. When I went into the political arena, I I had the opportunity to meet individuals that you would not normally meet as a man of God, and I had individuals that reached out to me. I had the opportunity to meet with one lawyer. There's two events. I met with a lawyer, and he said, I'm really impressed with what you're doing, and even though I know everything that you're saying is true, he says, my knighthood is coming up in 2 years, and I can't risk my. I would love to support you. I just want to let you know that I believe in what you're doing, but I can't support you right now because my knighthood is coming up in 2 years. So what Rev said there is very, very true. And then I had the opportunity to be invited to the home of one of the stalwarts, I would call him, of the Democratic Labor Party. And he said, I wanted to meet with you personally. And he said, I'm going to tell you straight off, I wish you were on our side. And we had a conversation, and he said to me, he said, I want you to know that the the Christians in Barbados, they like their political party and leaders better than the church. And he said to me, if you've never encountered that, you will. And I said, well, can you explain to me your rationale behind that? He said, because when I was campaigning, I would have several individuals who are Christians and members of churches. And he said, we would be out campaigning in the night. And he said, he would say to some of them, well, you're not supposed to be at church tonight. And he said, individuals, church folk told him, the church will see me when the election over. And he said he was so shocked that they were more committed to making sure that he got his seat or their party won than to be in their place at their church doing what's necessary. So, Rev is absolutely correct. But I'm hoping that we can find individuals. I said I want to amass at least 10,000 signatories on this petition because I want to make that presentation to the president of Barbados. We're asking for the immediate removal of both the Minister of Education and the Chief Education Officer. And we're also going to be sending a document to the Prime Minister of Barbados, letting her know that we have no confidence in them, or we believe that our children and our educational system is in danger with them at the helm. And I am doing what I have to do as a man of God. And I want people to know I do not fear the Barbados Labour Party. I do not fear any entity in Barbados. I don't fear anybody who may be behind them, witch, wizard, grandmaster, whoever. I have no fear of them. The reality is that I know God has a plan for Barbados. I see that the enemy is using individuals to destroy that. And I just want them to know we're coming. We're not going to sit back and allow Barbados to be destroyed by individuals who don't even know how many cans makes a bundle. So, this is our time. And I'm hoping that we can garner the kind of support. I'm even hoping that the Democratic Labour Party would get behind this and encourage their members to be a part of making sure that our children get the type of education that they deserve.
Well, I'll tell both you and Marcia something. Marcia and Kimar, you're all ready for this? I heard that somebody said that they can take us on anytime, toe to toe. Well, here's an invitation from the Marcia Week show to the Prime Minister and all the Minister of Government. Come on the show. I dare you to come on the show. Invitation to the members of the Democratic Labour Party. Come on the show. Tell the people what your plans are. Tell the people what your vision is. You talked about a vision a little while ago. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Make yourself available to the people to ask you questions. Because one of the things that I am pushing for is a constituency meeting, Apostle, not for the BLP, the DLP, the APP, or your party, a constituency meeting.
Yes, sir.
Where the people from the constituency can come and sit down with the people who are offering themselves, including the government, including the ministers, answer the questions. We have ministers who want to sit in the comfort of their constituencies under the party, who don't have the intestinal fortitude to sit in a constituency meeting available for everybody to come in, where you don't vet the questions that are asked. Let them come.
Yeah.
Come here on the Marcia Week show. I challenge any of them. Come. Yeah. We're inviting you.
Well, you know what? It's not even a challenge. The point is this. If you understand what I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's not.
I know you.
It's not even. The point is this: that, as I said before, regardless of who it is, Apostle and Dr. Ferdy, we need to be able to ask them questions. I don't care how tall you are, or short you are, or fat you are, or whatever, or how many titles you have. The point is, when it came to election, you came and you begged me for votes. You did.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you lied to me.
Yeah.
And
Okay? There are
continue
many
to
things.
lie. And
I
continue
continue
to
to
lie.
lie.
Yeah.
So you have no integrity, you know.
Yeah.
And I, you know, both parties will tell you that, you know, I make noise with both of them. I just didn't have the show during the DLP. But if you call any of those ministers, they will tell you they got emails. You understand? And one of them even said I was threatening him. You know, I mean, it wasn't the person, but I
Right.
just
Right.
don't believe in any form of injustice. I don't believe that you must treat people, you know, just like you wipe your feet on people. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in all the lying. I just believe that we need to stick to our word, whatever we say we have to do, like you did, and you came back on with the petition that we are asking everybody. So the petition is there now, guys. It is everybody that is on here, about 400 and something of you, to everybody sign it. If each of us sign it,
Yeah.
we right now it's at 100. We will have 500 by the time the show is up.
Right.
You know what I mean,
Right.
Apostle? We would
Yes,
have
ma'am.
500 signatures by the time the show is up.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
don't say, oh, they're coming with a petition again. No,
Put your
Yeah.
what
money
we're
where
gonna
your
do, we
mouth
have to keep
is.
trying. We have
Yeah.
to keep trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and, and,
Okay.
and something to, you know, Marcia, the good book says not to despise small beginnings. You know, I learned a long time ago there are two things that begin really tiny and grow real big and create real problems. One is, I think it's an avalanche. You know, these
mhm.
snowballs. It begin with a
Right.
little thing, you know, Marcia, a little
Mm.
thing, and before you know it, it's a massive ball rolling down a hill, wiping out villages.
Right.
And the other thing I learned is a cloud. A cloud forms around a speck of dust,
Mhm.
a water droplet around a speck of dust, and then you see was the hurricane that passed north of us the other day. That's what you that started as a speck of dust, you know.
Right.
So don't belittle, apostle, the small, what may appear to be a small start. As it gains momentum,
Yeah.
it will gain signatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to also thank the pastors since we spoke about this. I've already sent out uh, the petition and also forms for them to sign already. We've had pastors who've asked for information to be sent to the churches so that their members can sign. So it's already starting to, you know, gain ground, and I'm hoping that um, we have individuals from right across the Barbadian diaspora, right across the world, to come on board with us. And I think that when this is done, it's going to send a very strong message, not only to the current administration, but it's going to send a clear message to any future administration that the people, we have the power. We have the power with something as simple as an X, and we can take power in something as simple as a petition. Just put in our signatures there to make sure that our island stays on course. And you know the statement that evil will prevail when good men do nothing. And the time has come for us to do something. And I am really trusting and believing God for my support. I know my wife, she supports me. She's somewhere online there tonight for sure. And my members, I know I have my intercessory leader who is watching with us on tonight as well. But this is more so as it is about the people, it is also about the church. This is an opportunity for the church in Barbados to raise its voice and, you know, use our hands in a way that says we stand behind God where our nation is concerned. And Rev alluded to the aspect of our national anthem that speaks about God being the people's guide. Okay, didn't
No,
say God,
it said the people's guide, and not the parliament, not the government. It
not
said the
not the
people's
government's
guide.
guide, not the parliament's guide. Okay,
Yeah.
the people's guide. So we are under God's guidance right now to thank you, Hans. We're under God's guidance right now to deal with the reality and see someone is talking about the symbols around the
Right, but
country.
Yeah.
before you go, you do that. Probably if you stay with us a little bit, because Kimar has been here,
Okay,
for a while. But we want to hear about that. But I just would love Pastor Freddie, if Kimar could just say something to us.
Absolutely.
Read
I'm
sure.
this
excited to.
petition and the removal of these two the Minister of Education and the Chief Education Officer, just to hear his sentiments on that, and then we will have Pastor talk about the symbols, and then back to Kimar, if that's okay.
Sure,
Because he's
sure.
been waiting.
Absolutely.
Waiting. Go ahead, Kimar. Let's hear his take on it. Good
Good
night,
night.
Kimar. How are
Good
you
night,
doing?
Kimar. Good to
Good
have
night.
you. This young
Hey, good
man,
night,
Apostle,
everybody. Good night.
one of my favorite sons.
Hey, well, I thank you. I appreciate that, Pastor Ferdinand. Marcia, good night to you. And Mr. Scannerberg, good night to you.
Good night to you, sir.
Uh, yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah, and
say,
before you start, I hear that you're having a birthday. I hear you're having a birthday on December 9th.
yes, alternate
Yes.
views. Yes, so we're having,
You will be what?
You can.
You will be what? 40 years old? It's 40? You're gonna be 40 years old?
well,
Uh,
on Sunday, when I had on a blue shirt, it said yellow, so 4029.
He
Ah,
is going to be only
but
12.
Marcia, Marcia, I look in. You can enlarge it. Can you enlarge in that poster? Because I can't see my face on there to sing. I don't. I can't understand. Thank you. I thought I
Well,
would
he
have
has
seen my face.
he has Chris Irie is
Chrissy,
going to be singing,
Chris Irie.
accompanied by live band, and you have Stiffy Star Quality and live DJ entertainment, lots of food, good cooking food, inclusive, $75 for the ticket. And this is his celebration. And Kimar has been such a wealth of information. He
Oh
spends his
yes.
time
Oh yes.
researching, and
Fantastic.
I know we have an event that is going to be on the 9th that finishes about 9:30, and we're going to be spending the rest of the night down by Kimar. So we're doing both things, right? But if you haven't gotten the tickets yet, people take last minute to get things. But please support Kimar. I see a little lady there. She said, I can't go. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. But she went and she paid for her ticket last night, right? So
Right.
I'm gonna ask, yeah. But Kimar, go ahead. I cut you off. Go ahead.
yeah, but thanks for the ad. You know, your song better than prime time DJ morning 95.3. So I take that. You know, happy for that. But yeah, as I was going to say, um, well, before I start, thank you all for the support. I hope it's a great evening. Thank you to the lady as well. I really appreciate the contribution from her, and I appreciate the contributions from the others as we move. To what I want to say now, Mr. Scantleberry.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say that I saw uh, your challenges during the season of COVID, and I just wanted to say to you publicly that I admire your stellar backbone in standing up against the tyrannical acts that the government try to perpetrate on you and your family and your church. And I think that you are one of the few pastors who actually stood for justice. That's legal justice and justice to the Lord in
Yes, sir.
saying that you will not hurt regardless of what it is. And many of the pastors in these times need to take an example from persons like you and having that fortitude to stand for justice and righteousness, especially in a time like this.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. So I just want to say, I am proud and to keep the fight up. Uh, as it relates to the petition, though, Marcia was one of the first persons out to the blocks in terms of calling for the resignation of K. McConney education officer. I remember when Marcia did a warm up,
Yep.
standing there by the bandstand, and I saw this thing online, and I just put on my clothes and I ran across. I never got across the stone so fast. I ran across there, and I told her straight, as she could attest. Well, if it's a warm man protest, today gotta be two.
Right.
Here and me and Lumama, we stood there with her, and she was fighting. So when people refused to stand, she was standing. So I definitely want to give her celebration and her applause
Yes,
as it
sir.
relates to being one of the most forceful and forward persons against the agenda and that IDB test. Yeah,
Kudos,
so
kudos.
now that we're on to the petition, this is what you call practical approach in terms of directly asking for the resignation. Now, I don't have so much confidence that the president of to actually do something.
Kimar, you're dropping in and out.
Yeah,
Kimar, I don't
better
know.
now.
Yeah, all right. Yes, keep going. Let's see. But you were dropping in and out, and we want to hear what you're saying. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Yes. Right. So I was saying that I don't have much confidence as it relates to the president of Barbados making any movements against the administration that sits today. And that is because they put the president in place and basically give her the sanction into that office. This current parliament voted to put the sitting president in place. So I don't see her taking any action against the parliament that would have voted to put her in place.
Mm.
Right?
Okay.
And the interesting about it is that when they put the legislation for the presidency in place, minimum time that you are supposed to sit should be 10 years as a first uh, president seated in the country. 10 years. However, they shortened her to 4 years. And they put the expiration date for her presidency mid administration so that they get the choice to pick who's the next president.
Right.
When and if it is time for her to go, they are already putting the person right in your face as to who they wish to succeed her, which will more than likely be a Barbados Labour Party stalwart or retiree, right?
Right. Okay.
So I don't see the president without a defined institution in place who probably doesn't even know her powers, her rights, her responsibilities. That I don't see her necessarily taking action. And what makes it worse is that you, Pastor Ferdinand, spoke about man and the role of men into today's society. I saw a list going around Barbados which says that all of the heads of major corporations, the president, the prime minister, the deputy prime minister, all of them are female.
Right.
Right? So all of the heads, many principals. So you have a female-dominated system.
Right.
I don't see uh these persons going against this new age agenda to disrupt the semantics that come along with it. If you're following, uh, because it is a good thing to say nowadays that we have the first female prime minister, we have the first female uh minis- president, we have the first one female director of public prosecutions. So to bring discrepancy on these things, they wouldn't do it. They would
Right.
rather plunge the entire country into deprivation than to go against their agenda.
Right.
So the next part of the agenda through the Samoa Agreement bring the comprehensive sexuality education, and bring the full LGBT agenda to complement the agenda,
Right.
push women.
Right.
God right. So putting women in place, and don't go and say that I anti female and that's not what I'm saying here at all. I'm just saying the agenda set out push the females at the head of the society as
Right.
pillar one, destabilization. Pillar two, bring the full LGBT agenda to teach it in the schools. Completely destabilizing the society, right?
Right.
Can you
So
hear
Okay.
me?
you have so you have the different interest groups. They place their positions of power and influence, right? These respective interest groups go against your agenda as a pastor or man of the cloth in Barbados, right? And meaning all churches, right? Because we need to recognize that there's a complete agenda to destabilize the entire church system.
Right.
And the Anglican Church, which was traditionally the Church of England, which is the most predominant church of Barbados. Remember, we've now gone to republic, right?
Right.
We've now gone to republic, which means we no longer have that connection to Britain, but we still have the connection in terms of the institutions, and the main institution that they will attempt to destabilize Anglican Church, because the Anglican Church bears significant wealth of the English,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So I don't see uh us putting up the mass resistance and asking them to step. I applaud the effort and I fully support it and fully supportive of your efforts, and I will sign the petition as well. But we have to get more granular with our vision and taking suggestions from Pastor Ferdinand here in requesting more autonomy in
Well, I'll
Barbados.
tell you this.
Requesting what? You're breaking out. I didn't hear him. Requesting what? Did you hear him,
More
Apostle? I didn't
autonomy,
hear him.
more autonomy for
Autonomy.
more autonomy for offices like the president of Barbados, where the president is not selected by any particular administration. So there will be no bias in doing whatever duty you have to do.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
well, let me just say this, Kimar, if I may say, call you that. Um, Two things. Number one, the president has a conscience. Okay. And as far as I know, the president was a former magistrate. But the step of this is not, this is not Apostle Scanterbury's plan. This is not my design. This is something God wants done. And that's the power behind this. Okay. If they have the ability to interfere with a move of God, then they'll have to show me that. But I guarantee you, if the people who are watching, if they get on board, if you guys get on board, being the former administration, you have individuals right across Barbados that are a part of the Democratic Labour Party. I don't see any way where they cannot make a call or send a draft letter to these individuals, letting them know that they are expected to either hand in their resignation by the end of the day or by the end of the week. But I'm calling for an immediate resignation. Okay. And I want those who are listening to understand. I told them that once you have this administration, you're going to see a very strong, dominant female society. And of course, we've seen it where it's almost like there's no use for men in Barbados any longer. Okay, so all of the top positions are held by women. You have this feminist movement, and we have to make sure that we are not afraid to even help some of these women who are a part of this umbrella to understand the danger of having a society that is led by women. Now, I was speaking earlier about the issue of the witchcraft via the murals in Barbados. Now, any person who is in St. Joseph, there's one that is outside of the Andrew Sugar Factory. That one speaks expressly to women. The woman who is on the center of it, she's wearing. When I was a boy, there was a a cartoon show called the Thunderbirds. She's wearing a Thunderbird outfit, and if you look carefully, you will see that there is a woman, a female, who is flying on a futuristic surfboard, flying through the dimension of Barbados. So the woman on the front of it, a female. Then there's a woman on a skateboard, and then on the top of it, there's another woman um, on another skateboard flying over the Andrews factory. And then there are actually, from that center point, there are four faces. Three you can see, and then there's one that is subliminal, looking at the past and also looking into the future. And it all speaks to women dominating the future. Okay, so what we are seeing in Barbados is a carefully structured demonic network. This is not godly. This is not divine. This is all demonic. And what I want you to understand is that demonic structures can, and they have always been dismantled by God. They've always been dismantled by the people of God when the people of God decide that we're going to follow God where our nation is concerned. And I'm telling you, I know this is going to work. And when it does, it's not only going to send a clear message to Barbados, it's going to send a message right around the world that when the people of a nation get tired, they get angry enough, and they've had enough, and they take action, then there's always a result. And as I said, the time has come for Barbados to come out of bondage, to come out from under the hands of their taskmasters. And it's time for Barbados to actually, for the very first time, have a righteous government, people that will follow God and not stop going back and forth, back and forth. We're at the worst point ever in the history of leadership in Barbados. And right now it comes down to that, a question of leadership. Are we going to continue with demonic leadership, despotic leadership, or are we going to say, listen, we're tired of this, we've had enough of it, it's time for us to make change, and it's time for our nation to actually come under the right kind of leadership, visionary leadership, and one that will listen to what God wants for its people. So, I understand fully what you're saying, but as I said before, I'm resolute on this. If our people get together, we have the 10,000 signatures, that is enough to start with. That's enough to make a plug. And I'm telling you, they cannot back down. They cannot stand when over 10,000 persons have said, we want you gone. So if we get together and do this for the first time, we're going to see a result that I'm sure will bring a lot of joy to the people of Barbados as we, the people, make a decision to change the political and spiritual landscape of our nation. And I believe with all my heart it can be done. God is with us, and with him on our side, I'm telling you, we can't fail.
Yes. Any more questions, Pastor Ferdy, Reverend Ferdy, for Apostle?
Yeah, well, someone even mentioned the erecting of the statue they have outside of the Parliament building right now, which is 100% demonic. I have no idea where they could come up with anything in reality in relation to that. It is 100% demonic, and that's exactly what they need for their entities, whether here in Barbados or around the world, to move in and out of Barbados. What they are erecting in Bridgetown is what is called a portal. Okay.
Okay, can you explain more about that? Because there are lots of people who don't know. It is said that someone told me that it is a monument representing the families of Barbados. That's what I was
No,
told. I don't know.
no, no. I'm a spiritual person. I have understanding of how demonic systems work. Okay, I understand how demonic systems work, and that is positioned at a point where almost on a daily basis, thousands of persons pass there, either on the left and on the right, which is one of the reasons why it is in the center, because you have two main roads, Broad Street, and then you have the Wharf Road. So you have persons passing up and down, up and down. Now, I've studied the Bible over and over. Let me go back to when Elijah was taken up. Um, when the prophet Elisha came back across Jordan, the sons of the prophets came to him and said, well, listen, we have 40 young men of the prophets here who are strong enough. Let's go and see if maybe the Spirit of God have put Elijah on a mountain or in a valley. So you have a top and a bottom. Okay. So you have what we call a frequency. The demonic forces move on frequencies. That system, what they're erecting right there, has nothing to do with the family. It is all structured for frequency, for forces to move in and out of Barbados. I'm telling you what I've seen and what I know from their operation. That is what is called a portal. And any person who makes the mistake when it is finished and you go there to eat your lunch or anything, you are going to experience a very heavy demonic presence. And that is exactly why they need it so close to the parliament. They need that entity to function with them whenever they are in parliament. And that's what that is for. So you've heard it here on the Marcia Weeks show. Barbados is right now under a very carefully constructed level of witchcraft, which is one of the reasons why at every major point across the island where there is a mass amount of traffic, those murals are set up and they are being used by the demonic network in Barbados. And I'm going to do an expose on that very shortly to prove and to show why it is necessary for us. If we want to stop it, we've got to ask all of our parliamentary leaders or constituency leaders to have them taken down. They're unconstitutionally erected. And I'm going to show you from explaining the ones that we have here in St. Peter, why this network, this demonic network that is covering our country, why it needs to be removed. That monument is designed to allow individuals who do what we call astral projection, individuals that can move from one country to the next. And if you notice carefully, please let me explain what is happening. Those curves that you are seeing, they represent longitude and latitude lines that are bent. Because in order for one person who is at a certain level in the demonic to travel from one country to the next, you have to bend the latitude and longitude lines that are on the grid of the earth. That is what is constructed there. Those lines are already bent so that those individuals can move freely in and out of Barbados. I want our people in Barbados to understand we're dealing with some very highly evolved demonic people. They already know how to lie. They already know how to deceive. But when you have clear understanding of how those entities work and how they're designed, how they move, you can literally stop them. I can guarantee you that once that is finished, they will never allow a church to have any service in that area. I can guarantee you that. Because for a church, for any church to have a service in that area is to disrupt their frequency and disrupt their flow. I guarantee you they will not let a church have any service in that area again. Guarantee you that.
Wow. You know, Adrian is saying that that how can a poorly conceptualized digitization of the Tudor rose printed on spandex be a portal? What demonic what? So are you talking about, is that what you're talking about? Or you're talking about the physical monument that is being replaced, that is replacing what Nelson? Is that you're talking about the physical
yeah,
monument?
I'm talking about the physical structure itself.
Yeah,
that is being
that's
erected.
what I thought he was speaking about, because I caught a glimpse of the imagery, and I found it interesting in the sense that there were no capacities in terms of family to determine whether it was male or female. If you look at the imagery, they're all bald. They're, at least from what I saw, the brief imagery I saw. I stand to be corrected, but I was just trying to find it back, and I can't locate it. But you it's almost portraying the gender neutrality of family is what I began to see, and in the context of what we have been talking about for the past several minutes, Apostle, in terms of the international and global agenda, which we know the wickedness of those people and where it's rooted. And I don't necessarily want to get into that at the moment, but when I looked at the imagery, what I saw was, okay, is this a man or is this a woman? Is this a man and a man? Is this a woman and a woman? What about the child? I can't determine.
Okay.
And
Okay.
what is the gender? And I saw that, and I mean, like I said, I have to take a closer look at it. I just saw something to do with where they were now laying it out or something like that, but I do want to take a closer look at it.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
know,
Eh,
this is I haven't seen it, to be honest,
Okay.
and I haven't seen it as yet. I try to peep in there. I guess I'm too short, but I tried when I was in town to peep inside there to see what's going on. People have been sending me stuff about it. So
Okay.
I really don't know, but I really appreciate what you said, and I know that symbols are important. Art, the way a lot of times we speak through art. We do, which is
Yeah.
why they banned Press Academy, because of the art. We were speaking through the art.
Right.
So
Okay.
our art is not just art. But Kimar is here, and I don't know how much longer the apostle has with us. But Kimar, I wanted you to talk about this electricity bill. I saw you had a post up today, and you were talking about the high price, the high electricity bill, and your observation is that you didn't think it was, you believe it had to do with what the government was doing. Really, you're blaming the government, and why is that? Kimar?
yeah, I won't explain that, but I just want to. Yeah, I just want to respond to something quickly. A point that the apostle made. I don't want people to underestimate the ability of a tyrannical administration to keep itself in power, even though the people may not want it in there, right? In a country called Namibia, you had a MP dying in office. But instead of allowing a by election, what the government did was to bring a constitutional amendment to then appoint the MP as opposed to going to a by election. And they appointed a young lady, her name was Patience Mansour. And she was given a seat in parliament by the leader of the country saying, well, the seat is yours. Just sit there, we don't worry about elections. Like, due to the constitutional reform that is coming in Barbados, right?
Mm,
I suspect I suspect that these people will try to keep themselves in office for prolonged periods. That will say that the only way they can be kicked out of office is if they die or if they resign. There will be no way to remove them. And if one of them die along the way, based off the information I just shared about that constitutional amendment happening in Namibia, you can then end up with a situation where we don't ever go back to elections ever again. When
Mm.
when MPs die or they resign, the leader of the country appoints them, like what they do with the Senate right now.
Okay.
So we need to be guarded with that. Um, light bills. We had a lot of complaints in Barbados about the high rate of electricity bills coming in people's household. And citizens are very concerned that these high prices in electricity has something to do with the light and power. But I'm finding that we are giving the light and power lashes unnecessarily because we don't necessarily have the facts as it relates to how these bills are charged. Like when you pay an electricity bill, you pay for a couple of things. You pay customer charge, that is for your meter, that is for them to come and read the that is having an account with Light and Power. You pay $12 roughly, depending on the size of kilowatts you have, but it doesn't go past $19. But the average person, it is $12 a month. That charge comes on your bill, so you pay that. You also pay the cost of energy, that is to run electricity to your house. You have to pay the energy costs attached to that. And the energy costs, the first 125 kilowatts that you use, cost of that is around 16 cents. And the FTC regulates how much the Light and Power can charge Barbadians for energy. So if you 125 kilowatts, you're gonna pay roughly between $20 and $24. So let's cap it off at $20 for argument's sake. So that is $32 that you pay already for those two charges, and that goes directly to the light and power. The bill also you pay fuel charge, right? You pay fuel charge, and the fuel charge is a rate that is set by the government of Barbados. The government sets the fuel charge, and the government passes on that fuel charge every month because it is changed every month. They pass on that fuel charge to the Light and Power, and then the Light and Power is legally allowed to charge the people of Barbados the same exact price that the government charged them to be able to recoup the cost of fuel from the government, right? So as of late, the fuel charge has been cents, 45 cents. Earlier up in the year, like say like June, July, in the summer months, the rates were like 25 cents, 26 cents, 27, 28, 30 cents. But now it is at 44. Right? So you pay fuel, right? That goes to the government. The fuel cost goes also pay value added tax at 7.5% per 250 kilowatt. The first 250 kilowatts, you pay 7.5%. And if you go over that, you then pay 17.5%. So you can end up paying two VAT rates. Easy. 7.5 first 250 kilowatts, and then 17.5 if you go over that 250 kilowatt. Right? That then gives you the total components you pay electricity bills. You end up paying considerably more in fuel, way more, and you actually pay for that. You pay the Light and Power for energy and customer charge, right? So in a bill that is approximately $94, the Light and Power gets $32, and the other 62.45 goes to the government.
Wow.
Right?
Hold a
So
minute again. Hold, because
Well,
we
that's
saw this Kimar when we had someone came on, and it's a pity I can't find the bill now. I'm trying to find it on the program here. I don't know if Dave has it and can put it up, because when you will see it clearly, we have it here, but it's upside down. So if we could show it, because you're saying, and this is what was shown on her bill. I don't know if you remember. You're saying if $94, listen, guys, listen, get your pen and paper out. If your light and power bill is $94, you're saying that $32 of it goes to light and power, and 62 goes to the government.
The government.
So what percentage is that? What percentage is that? Let me see if I can work out the percentage, because people need to understand, guys. Listen, this is some of the practical stuff here, because
that's about
60,
67% goes to the government. The other 33% goes to light and power.
Right. So about 34% is to light and power.
Yeah.
And
if you're talking 94, yeah. If you're talking 94, 32 is about 33%.
Yeah. Look at that. And right, a third. So a third of your bill goes to light and power, and you're based on what Kimar is saying, 2/3 of that goes to the government, and that was actually what the lady who came out with the bill, and we were examining the bill. I wish Dave could look for that bill and we put it up again. Correct. 2/3 go to the government, and because we pay full VAT on one part, right, Kumar, and then another percentage of VAT on the other section, right, Kimar?
Yeah.
Wow.
Two VAT rate, 7.5 and 17.5.
Right, there it is.
If Dave can zoom in, glad he got it here. If he can zoom in on it, that you can bring it up large, that you can see, that would be better.
That's ridiculous.
Better no. Right. So the people can tell me if they can see. The viewers can tell me if they can see. You see on top here, you have customer charge, and you see $12. Then you have the energy, the first bulk of energy at 150 kilowatts is 16 cents per kilowatts. And that is, you see, I told you it was between $20 to $24. So you actually paid $24 for this one, right? This person here went over at first 150 kilowatts. So they paid for a second bulk of energy. They paid 19 cents for that, right? For the 100 kilowatts, for the next 100 kilowatts, they paid 19 cents. The person then went over that wattage, and they were billed again for energy for 74 kilowatts, and they were charged another 19 cents, right? Those components would go to the light and power. The customer charge and the 3 lines that you see for energy, light and power would collect that.
Kimar, if I can just say something here, this bill, Kimar, just want to point something out to those who are watching, that where you see the tick, this is what the owner of the bill said. The light and power explained that to them. That is what they get, and then no, I just want to confirm what you're saying. So continue, Kimar.
Yes, thank you. So as Marcia said, the customer charge and the 3 lines that say energy, first bulk, second bulk, you're charged at different rates for energy. So I don't have my thing here, but 24 and that's 19.
We'll add it for you.
Okay, right. So that's 1960. If you can see right here.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2012 plus 24 plus 1960. plus
Mm.
14.50.
$70.10. You got that, Reverend? Mm-hmm. Yeah. $70.10.
All right. So $70.10 out of $214 bank to Light and Power out of this bill. Right. Where you see fuel 250 kilowatts at 44 cents. That is the fuel adjustment clause. Right. So you pay 44 cents for your first 250 kilowatts of fuel. Right. And you paid $111.72. You went over the 250 kilowatts. So then you had to pay again. So you paid for 74 kilowatts at the same price of 44 cents, right? And you were charged $33.07. Those two charges go to the government, not Light and Power. Light and Power does not get that. That goes to the government.
Okay.
And Kimar, if 1 second, you notice it says GOV here. And so she explained when she came on, this was government. And actually, if you take the $70.10 and you find it as a percentage of the 214, it comes up to about 32 point something percent, the same 33 thereabout.
Right.
So I'm just saying that it works out.
Yeah. All right. So those two would go to the government. So after that, the government then charges you value added tax for the first 250 kilowatts on your subtotal, right? So for the first 250 kilowatt, you pay 7.5%, right? And that is where you now pay $167 in VAT, right?
Well,
For the second portable charge here, where you go over the 250 kilowatts, you now pay 17.5%, right? You now pay 17.5%. So that shows you where they're charging you two different VAT rates. So the VAT collection goes to the government. Light and Power does not get that. So fuel and VAT goes to the government. So you can clearly see here how the government is scalping off the backs of the people and using Light and Power to suck money from within our households that does not have anything to do with actually paying for electricity. So what Light and Power was asking for in the rate increase was an increase in the energy component so that they can actually charge and get more money for actual light. Right? I'm not picking up for Light and Power here, so don't please say that Light and Power has paid me. Right? Just explain the reality of the situation. They're asking for an increase in the energy component that they can charge more. But the reason for the high light bills based off what we can see here has nothing to do with Light and Power. It has everything to do with the fuel charge from the government, the VAT charge. The challenge with this is that the government sends down the fuel charge every month, and that is why the late bills come out late because they can't send out the late bills without a quote from the government.
right.
So the government sits and decide amongst themselves how high they're going to set the fuel adjustment charge this month, and then they send it down to the Light and Power. If you check the fuel charge every month from now straight back into the government into play, you can see that it has been absurdly high almost year round. And that is where they're bleeding off the backs of the people but they are giving you the impression that it is light and power who's overcharging the people for electricity, but it is them.
Somebody's asking if this is what Busy's annoyance was over with the rate refusal. Is this what he was upset about?
But
Anybody knows?
part of Busy's annoyance was that the government was not renewing Light and Power's license in order for Light and Power to reinvest money so that they could improve their
Right. Okay.
systems. Right? So the government is basically trying to end the old monopoly that the current Light and Power structure, they were trying to end that, create a new structure, but not trying to renew the license. So Emira is simply holding back whatever monies they would have invested and trying to raise whatever investment monies directly from the energy component as opposed to putting in their own money because the government would not shake their hand in terms of issuing them the requisite license to do so.
Wow.
Right?
See,
So
see,
the
so
problem,
yeah, go ahead.
right? So the problem is really storage for the electricity and storage for the grid. Right? So that's Busy's problem is that the government is not doing what it is supposed to do to allow a mirror to have the requisite things to put energy storage in place. So it is the government standing in its own way in terms of reducing the cost of energy because as you clearly see here, the government benefit significantly from the cost of fuel. So they would not want to go over to renewable energy to loss out on all of these VAT and tax revenues for fuel and to over to a
So
system where the people would then
Kimar,
have.
telling me that all of what Miss Climate Change, the poster girl for climate change all around the world, that she's not serious. Is that what you're trying to say, Kimar? That
Yeah,
she's really
well
not serious? It's not going to
that's
benefit.
exactly that's exactly what I've been saying because I said on the show, if you can remember, when they asked her how come you as the climate leader you still issue two offshore blocks of oil to be drilled in Barbados, she said we have not said that we would give her all we have. She said that. They asked her, right? So they are really not serious about giving up fossil fuel and oil because Barbados is issuing licenses to companies to come and drill all of Barbados as we speak.
I don't
So
think they would ever believe that that is happening because this is the climate change. She is Miss Climate Change. I can't believe that, and I don't think anybody in the world. I don't think they would believe that. But it is but all of this. Okay, so this is happening. The question is, what are we going to do about this situation here? Somebody's asking, Pastor Ferdy. Someone is asking if this is an old bill. Is this a bill or a bill error, or is this happening across the country?
I think it's happening across the country because
Yep.
I get a similar bill.
right, this is
Right?
standard across the country.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's standard. And
Right.
I let me say this, huh?
Wow.
Marcy, you're talking about a climate change advocate across the world. I deal in automobiles. All right, the lithium battery of an automobile is scheduled to last anywhere between 5 to 10 years. That's nothing to do with being in a country where the climate is consistently changing. If you own a vehicle that is running electric batteries in the United States, the battery life is going to be even shorter because the coldness, the changes of the season affect the battery life. Lithium batteries are one of the most deadly and dangerous components to get rid of. I don't know if you also remember seeing an image of a Tesla in Florida when Hurricane was it Lucy or something like that went through this year, and one of the vehicles was underwater, came from underwater. You don't add water to a lithium battery as an explosion you're looking for.
Right.
You hear a lot of people talking about electric vehicles and electric stuff. Um, but when you start to engage the whole process, I wonder if people stop for a minute to find out how we get our lithium batteries. You know where they're produced? Can I educate you on that? Tell you they're produced in Africa. You know who digs them? Child labor, little black children in Africa. I hear anybody defending these little black kids
Hmm.
in Africa. All right. So I have a vehicle over here. It's an electric vehicle. The batteries will last about 5 to 10 years probably in Barbados. You have the problem that at the end of 10 years, you have to dispose of it. Where are you going to put it? You have any idea how environmentally poisonous a lithium battery is? Not only that, because we're talking, I'm just raising this point for your climate change advocate that you just talked about. All right. Now, not only is it a danger to dispose of, you want to find out the cost of replacing that battery in your car. A lithium battery to replace in your car almost costs more than the car that you bought.
Right.
This is where we are heading, and there's a lot. You see, there's a lot that people have not stopped and looked into. Kimar, am I not right in saying that recently I saw something mentioned by the Minister of Energy or something like that about I think it was today about people being able, and I stand to be corrected, so you correct me, people being able to establish their own energy generating plants in their homes or something like that. Did I see that somewhere in the media today?
Well, I ain't sure exactly, but wherever it is, that's a fallacy.
Right.
Right in the sky.
But I think but where I want to, my question though, to bring it back to this bill here. My question though is, what do we do hearing all of this? Do we? Because I know this particular lady went to Light and Power to complain, and when Light and Power was finished explaining, she didn't have anything to say to them. Everything, every issue she had was no at the government, and we keep coming back at this place. We keep coming back every time we look at the government. Apostle, we see oppression. We
Right.
learn on the show through Kimar. We learn that they have taken the most taxes from the people. We are the most taxed. We are the most taxed generation, or the most taxed. In the last 4 years.
No, we're the
That
most
that
taxed.
any
We're the most taxed country
Right. In the
in the
world.
right,
Caribbean. Well, I
right,
can't speak to the world yet, but in the Caribbean for sure.
Yeah.
but in the Caribbean for sure. And I'm saying, what do we have to show for all of this? Look, we just showed you that bill, and this is what I'm saying to people. This is a show where you're educated. Now what? What happens after this? Apostle, you were saying something.
Yeah, I wanna ask Kimar, because I heard him mention the issue of the FTC. Um, Evidently, it doesn't seem like they're doing anything about this, and they're supposed to be the governing body. Um, on a wider scale, how much can the FTC affect what is happening as far as these bills are concerned?
Uh, well, challenge with the FTC is that the FTC has the regulatory control over light and power. But remember, this is not light and power that manages this. The FTC could jump in and rule to tell light and power that the charge at the pump may be too drastic. But remember,
Okay.
they are not the ones who set it. It is the government, right? So when the government passes down the regulation and then the power puts it in place, the FTC can then intervene and instruct a cut in it. However, that don't really happen, and it
Okay.
ain't gonna happen just so because, as you will know, the government put most of the people who work at the FSC in place. Right? So they will not do it.
So you have a system that's in place that can't do its job because of the structure that
Well,
it's under.
yeah, that's the structure of it. And then we had politicians who rigmark the system to benefit themselves because don't
Okay.
forget, our attorney general, a senior partner in the law firm who was the legal representative for Emira. We
Right.
had so we have parliamentarians who have shares in the soil in our soil, light and power. Right? So they will continue to rigmark the regulation that it benefits them because they know that is money in their pockets.
Okay. Bottom line is the dollar, right?
The almighty dollar. But at least a bigger question here though. We have to investigate this fuel where the government is importing fuel because they're telling us that our prices are X amount of dollars. So they go to the market, they get oil, they bring that oil here. Now I don't necessarily know the exact location in which Barbados imports its oil from. So maybe we need to understand the price that the government of Barbados buys oil at, who they buy it from, that by the time the oil gets here, we need to understand the price makeup of it, that the government is charging such absurd amounts for the
Okay.
people to then consume it. Right? But based off this structure that we are seeing here, VAT and the different charges, I would not be surprised to see that the government has a hefty tax structure on the importation of oil. Right?
Mm.
And they
Wow.
benefit significantly every
Mm.
time they go there to spend money. Right?
A serious
Yeah,
business. I know for
yeah,
sure that
yeah.
there's a huge solar plant that the Light and Power has in St. Lucie, and I'm questioning. My question whenever I pass there and I see it and I see the huge field of solar panels they have out there, I'm asking, who's taxing them on the sun? Because that's, to me, that's like that's like free sunlight for at least 13 hours of the day, and there's no tax being paid on that. So that's, I'm thinking with that happening, the cost of, electricity and electric bills in Barbados should go down. So, but you're actually stating that the government is maintaining high prices in terms of our electric bill here in the island for their own gain. That's pretty much what you're saying.
Yeah, and there's evidence to prove.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually I mean, it wasn't broken down like this the last time, but I think by now we're getting it that we need to ask some questions and we need to find out what is really happening. Take a look at your electricity bill. People are acting
Mhm.
shocked, but to look at your electricity bill and and see what is happening there.
Wow.
And people here are commenting a lot on the whole green economy and all of that, that it's a sham, that none of them really, they really don't
Right.
know all plan to do it.
Right.
As Pastor Ferdinand was clarifying for us earlier, that it's all a sham, it's not real.
But
It's, yeah.
Marcia, just today, oh my God, sometimes I gonna have to find some place to put stuff when I find it that I can find it easily. Just today, I think it was trying to remember if it was Australia or New Zealand, one of the countries that had committed to climate change have just begun to change their entire perspective to return to fossil fuels. Just today, right? I saw somebody post in the chat something to do about people people being. I was just trying to find it there. I don't know if you saw it. If you saw it, Marcia, but something about people. Um, I'm just looking for it. Something about are people part of the environment? You know who began to talk about the elimination of people to bring the carbon dioxide component down to zero? You know who's the first person who started to talk about it? A man by the name of Bill Gates. If you don't believe me, go and Google his TED talk concerning the matter of the environment. And you know which is the first country he selected? Take a guess. Nobody want to guess? Well, let me tell you. Africa. First country he selected.
I was going to say that.
Okay. Now, any idiot knows you can't bring this world's carbon dioxide component down to zero. Any idiot knows that. And the reason you can't is because we breathe out carbon dioxide and plants breathe it in and produce oxygen that we breathe back in. So if you carry carbon dioxide down to zero, what are plants going to breathe? This is the ridiculousness, the stupidity. You see, people are not examining these arguments that these folk are coming up with. I remember the man who created the Weather Channel. I will find this stuff. I can search for it. I can find it. Come back on the program with it. The man who created the Weather Channel is one of the largest opponents to the whole component of climate change, which is a farce. Remember, the person who started this whole thing off was a vice president by the name of what he was again? Al Gore, in something called sustainable development. You remember those sustainable development goals we were looking at some weeks ago? Al Gore is the man that, you know how much money has been put in to sustainable development goals and climate change? Trillions of dollars. You know who benefits from that? Not a single person living in a country across the planet benefits from it. So when I hear people starting to talk, people might think I'm ballistic to be talking about climate change. When I hear people talking about climate change, and I look around the world, I hear some of these top level individuals talking about how you're going to have to deal with people in South America. South Americans are still cooking with wood fires. Some of the poorest people are the largest producers of carbon dioxide because that's how they live. They burn wood to cook their food. It happens in Africa. It happens in South America. It doesn't happen in the European Union. It doesn't happen in North America. It doesn't happen in Canada. You see where it happens? You see who's being targeted? It happens in India. Who's being targeted? Poor people are being targeted. So when we start to talk, I mean, this stuff can explode and go, you know. But when we start talking about these things, I was reviewing the bill, Marcio, while you were speaking. $144.79 goes to the government. $70.10 goes to the light and power. The $144.79 is taxes. The $70.10 is what the light and power would profit in terms of producing the electricity in Barbados. The government
You
doesn't.
could put back up the bill again.
Yeah, please. I was going to ask. Thank you, Kim. I was going to ask you to do it because somebody raised something to do with the
Yeah,
calculations.
can we put up the
The
bill? Thank you.
17.5% and the 7.5%. I want people in this on this forum to remember that when the Democratic Labour Party raises the value added tax in Barbados from 15% to 17.5%, who opposed it? Who are the people that opposed the increase? And come into office, we have seen no adjustment to that 17.5%. Look at the bill. Kimar, I would like you to, if you don't mind, sir, if you could go over the area below the subtotal of 214.89, because if I understand the word subtotal to be correct, it means that that is not the total bill. Thank you very much for bringing up the rest. Keep going up because we're still seeing a subtotal after VAT.
Right. The subtotal that you're seeing, which is $214, that
Right.
is before VAT. The subtotal after VAT is when you calculate the VAT. The VAT. This would then be added on to the subtotal. That would then give you the current charges, the total charges.
What
So
what is
the
that 167.32? Vatable charges for the first 200. Is that what you pay 7.5% on, the 167.32?
you pay 17.5% on energy and fuel kilowattage combined. So where you see fuel and energy, you add those two totals.
Can you bring that bill down a little bit? Yeah, thanks. But just bring it down a little bit. Bring it down. Okay, good.
Right.
Right. Where we see fuel and energy.
Add fuel, add the fuel, the energy, depending on the kilowattage. So
Right.
you are paying for the first, you're paying 7.5% the first 250 kil- usage. When you go over the
Right.
first 50 kilowatts, which is 17.5%, but then charge 17.5% after past that 250 kilowatts. Right. So let's start back from the top here because so much. See, I don't got the calculator nearby that I could show as we along the way. I
I
have
got a calculator. You go ahead and I will add as you go ahead. Customer charge $12, right?
right.
Mm-hmm.
You have $24 for energy, $19, 1960, sorry, 1950,
That's
1172.
$70.10.
Where? And 3307. You said that's how much?
No, the first four is $70.10.
What we're trying to achieve, I'm trying to understand what we're trying to achieve, where we're trying to get to.
We're
He's
trying to get to what that 7.5% is charged on which figure.
On what
And what is
figure
it?
this
Yeah,
is?
because the 7.5% is $12.55.
That's right.
Is that charge on the vatable charges for the first 250 watts below the subtotal, Kimar?
You have to look into the this watt is charged as is here saying kilowatt hours. Right. So when you there's something and there's a column right next to this that has the usage in it.
Oh,
Right?
Oh, we
Yeah.
can't see.
we can't
So
see
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
right. So you can't see that one. So what you doing here now is to multiply figure here, which is the cents part, 0.196, 0. You multiply that by the usage. But I can't see that part. But charge is supposed to be charged on the vatable charges for the first 250. That's the
Mm,
7.5. The
Right.
charges for over 250 is the 17.5. Right. So the first, remember the first 250 kilowatt, 7.5. Over that, 17.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's becoming clearer now.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. It is. Someone is
Wow. It's highway robbery.
so that's right. So the 7 point right is charged on the 167, correct, blind. So the question is this, guys, as I always ask, so this is the information here that you have. You check in your bill, and this is what it is. It's like everything else. We see the sewage tax. We see we're paying all of this water, and we can't even use the water. On a Saturday, I have classes at the school, and many times those students that can't come in, to help us. The U.S. students, they don't have any water, no water at home, ma'am. Yesterday I saw somebody put up on Facebook the dirty water in the glass that is there. Not to mention those like Pastor Apostle down in St. Peter. I think in
Oh
St.
man.
Peter have the dirty water. But it's like we're paying all of this money, but for what? We're giving so much to the government, but for what? But is it that we're just going to be, as somebody said, the government juking out on the eyes? Huh? So it is that we're just going to sit down and we look and say, look at our light bill. Somebody said on here that it needs some disruption needs to happen in the society. It's not a case where you're going to be mashing up the place. But at some point, we can't continue like this. Something it's like the lid is going to pop off at one point, because a lot of people cannot find food to eat. And when you think that you are paying a bill like this, and paying two-thirds of the money you pay on the bill goes to the government, you think you're paying light and power. It's the
Wow.
same government, and then they come sympathizing with you, and they're taking two-thirds of the bill. You know,
So do you really think,
somebody.
Marcia, that the government, as Apostles Canterbury asked, do you really think that the government is interested in lowering electricity bills after seeing this?
Doubt that.
No, right? It's
Doubt
the
that.
same thing
Not
with
at
the
all.
water bill, right? It is the same thing with the water bill. The sewage tax is more than the actual bill. And we now have to look and see how much fuel charge they're charging you on your water bill. Eh, If we gotta now look and see the
So the
components that
the
the
sewage
government
tax.
is fleecing off the people when
Let's
it comes to water.
so wait, on our light bill, the government, their portion of it is two-thirds of the bill go to them. The sewage tax is, as we've said on this program, is bigger than the bill. So once again, they're using that opportunity. And the question is, what are they doing with the money? And they keep borrowing and borrowing. And I mean, we pay more taxes than anybody else in the Caribbean, as we said earlier. They are getting more revenue from this in the last four years than any other government. But yet still they're borrowing more than anybody else.
Wow. Wow. This is just amazing. I think,
Somebody saying it here. Hurricane writer said, Max. Yeah, go ahead, Pastor Apostle.
yeah, I think it was in a recent uh, publication that the Barbados Light and Power mentioned that they had seen an increase in their revenue since they had won the hike. And so they were actually bragging that they had seen profits. So I don't see any way. I think this is a very clever and again a very deceptive way of exacting money out of the people of Barbados, and this is unacceptable.
Mm.
So, Kimar, I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you at this point, your party, what are you guys going to say about this to the public?
Well, I declare any comment on party. If you want to hear more about the Democratic Labour Party, you think you got to call Ronnie Yearwood. He's the man to speak to on any issues Democratic Labour Party.
Okay. I've actually been meaning to get in contact with him, to have a sit down to see what's on his mind and his heart in relation to where Barbados is going and what is the focus of the Democratic Labour Party going forward. So I appreciate that. I'll definitely do that.
No problem.
As I was saying to someone, either today or yesterday, one of the things that we do on the show, we hold everybody accountable. We talk about the third parties as well, that we don't see them. They turn out at election time. The point is that we need to reach to the point where of us where we're not connected to any party. We're not going to be running behind a color. We're
Right.
adults.
Yeah.
We can stop and we can ask some questions. As you were asking tonight, and as I would ask sometimes, I told myself, listen, I'm tired of these third parties too, because I don't see them. I don't hear them, and I'm speaking generally. I
Right.
don't see them. I don't hear them. And one of the things that I'm so glad you brought this up, because I put it on the list of topics that we are gonna talk about. And I wanted to ask the question of the DLP. What are they saying? What is the official stance on so many things? For example, the comprehensive sexuality education. I hate to feel like I'm changing the subject, but as
Right.
you were asking about accountability and asking parties. We
That's sorry to cross you, Marcia. You're not changing the subject.
No.
You are addressing transparency and accountability. That's what you're doing. You're not changing the subject. What we're
you know
discussing here right now is transparency. We happen to be illustrating it with an electric bill. What we're asking for here is accountability, and we happen to be illustrating it with an electric bill. Somebody has to answer the questions, and it seems that the moment you raise an objection or a question, you're treasonous. And I take that statement from the Prime Minister very, very seriously.
Yeah.
It is a serious expression coming from the leader of a country when a leader of a country suggests that persons who are speaking across the length and breadth of the country, raising questions and raising concerns, are considered to be treasonous.
Right.
That causes some deep concern in my mind as to where the mind of that person is. Because when you
yeah
start talking treason, you are talking now the bringing out of a military response, and that
Yeah.
but
bothers
you,
me.
yeah, but
Well.
it's couple minutes. What before you go, Apostle, because we have a couple minutes. I just want to say this, and then I'm going to leave it for everybody else. Because I put it on the list of topics that we're going to speak on, and I feel that it would not be fair for me not because this is something that matters to me, and that
Right.
I sit at home and I think about, and I'm waiting for it. I want to have an official statement from the Democratic Labour Party re comprehensive sexuality education. I want an official statement, read the Samoa agreement that is going to lock us in for 20 years, especially if, supposing I'm thinking of voting DLP. I want to know, what are you going to do concerning the Samoa agreement when you come in? I think that those things are fair. And
They're reasonable
I
questions.
can't sit here.
Yeah.
It's a reasonable question. What do you think?
Reasonable.
What the comprehensive sexuality education? What's going to happen concerning the Constitution? Where when I look in the Constitution, more of what happened to Praise Academy. the new constitution is what's going to be happening to lots of other people, pastors and anybody who speak a certain way in here. They're going to get into a lot of trouble. Look, go back and look at the charter, and the charter is telling us where we're going to go. I don't know if they've had the new the amended constitution, or the what they call it, a proposed constitution yet. But the point is, these are things I want to hear the DLP talk about the new constitution. I want to hear the DLP talk about comprehensive sexuality education. I want an official statement about the Samoa Agreement. Where do we stand? Where does the DLP stand with the LGBTQ agenda? I want to understand that, because as a voter, that matters to me. But hold a minute. I think Reverend Nichols was going to say something. Let Reverend Nichols go. Kimar. Okay, go ahead.
Let me I'll go ahead and I'll just give real let Kimar speak since.
Like I said, I am not a sports person by any chance with the DLP. And that would I try to represent the DLP's position in this forum. However, much like innocent bystander, I saw the Democratic Labour Party posted on their social media with the president there at a session with the Canadians, and it said that the DLP joined with the Canadian embassy to celebrate a day against homophobia, transphobia, where members of the LGBT community shared their life before HIV, XYZ, and the leader, it seems the policies, one of these policies that he fully supports is LGBTQ, and you can reference that in the speeches. His words, that's using his words, was already in the public domain, that he and the organization, using these terms loosely, but he is fully supportive of LGBTQ, and he wants to say that the Labour Party is the home for all. Right? That those were his words. So,
but Kimar, if I want to cut you there and say that if he's saying that, you know, DLP is not going to discriminate against people, then I can understand that, if that is what he's saying, because we're really not supposed to discriminate against anyone. We should not. But I want to know, I see, because we're not sure, and because we're not sure, they need to be able to give a full statement. Because this matters, and we're not going to jump out of the frying pan into no fire. We need to especially read comprehensive sexuality education. I did say I'm going to stop talking. Sorry.
You know, I don't understand. I don't understand either. So I will join you, and I'm sure he would accept an invitation to come. So if there's an invitation for him to come and explain to you and explain to the public exactly what his statements mean as it relates to his full support for LGBT, then go right ahead and ask him to come and explain himself. But he's the leader of a political organization, of course, so the citizens have the right to call him out and ask him to clarify statements that he has made. That is your right, and I fully supportive of you if you do that.
And I want to, I wanted to touch on something yesterday. I think I may have mentioned it and didn't get a chance to touch on it tonight, Marcia, but this new appointment of
Pastor, did Apostle say what he wanted to say yet? I think we're ignoring him, and I feel bad. Apostle Linroy.
No. Go ahead, Apostle.
Yeah, well, I wanted to hear Kimar's response to your question, since most of what you were saying was directed to the Democratic Labour Party. I think the Democratic Labour Party still has to understand, for this moment, they're still, in terms of political parties in Barbados, they're still the other more established political party in the island right now. And so a lot of what is going on is going to be directed at them in terms of what is your response to this being the more established political party. But there are political parties out there like, you know, myself, the MBKA, that are, you know, not as established. But what I've realized with Barbadians, and even here in St. Peter, you know, people say, well, you know, we see you during the election, but then after the elections, we don't see you. Well, I've had
Yeah.
that conversation with a number of individuals, and I've said to them, okay, well, you've made a selection in the last election. Okay. We have to give the person you have elected an opportunity to show you that you've made the right choice. Now, my point is, when you realize that you did not make the right choice, then it's really not my point to track you down. When you realize that you've made a bad decision, then you should seek out your alternative and say, listen, we're not going to make this um, this huge mistake again. I remember when I was in 6 months and I spoke in 6 months, I said to them, in the next 5 years plus, I'll come back. And I promise you that the people who own this land, they're going to remove all of you from this land. I said the children that own this land, because I had certain intelligence on them. And I was out there when the Barbados Labour Party spoke to them. I was out there when the Democratic Labour Party spoke to them. All lies, all lies. But what they're faced with right now is a situation where all of them, even individuals on the other side in Colleton, are going to be displaced. And that's the reality of what's happening. And I'm saying this on the backdrop of Barbadians must become more connected to understanding the future, and those individuals who you think may have your best interests at heart, you're realizing that they don't. And people will tell you, well, I I don't even see the person that I put my X next to. I don't see them. And I usually say, well, why is it a problem if you don't see me? If you're not seeing the person that you elected, then why am I being punished for you not
But
seeing me? You know?
Apostle, I would love to have a discussion on here
Okay.
with you about this a bit further, but not tonight because we're at 10:01.
Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
love for you to come back because I would love to talk to you about representation. I would love to have a conversation because this is one of my pet peeves with the third parties. But we will
Yes, ma'am.
we won't do that now. But Pastor Freddie, you have the last word. Go ahead, sir. It's 10:01.
No, I'm going to what, cede the last word, because it may have been a little too long a last word. But it was just to issue a word of caution, really, Marcia, with regards to this entire gender matter, because we have eminently arriving in our country, at the selection of Joe Biden, at the selection of Joe Biden. And I wish we had the time for me to show you the information tonight. An
We can do that
ambassador,
Wednesday. Let's do that
yeah,
Wednesday. We can,
yeah,
yeah.
an ambassador who is going to set the tone for the Eastern Caribbean relative to who gets visas in the United States. Mark my words.
Mm, wow. Well, it's one of the things again that we have to deal with, And I don't know if you had time to talk about the symposium that's coming up.
I did run it. I was actually looking for the flyer, but there was so much flying into the there was so much flying in terms of the
Well,
what was being
there's a
projected.
big symposium, a big symposium that is coming up on Apostle, and it is going to be one where we really need everybody to come out because you have a lot of lawyers there. They're going to go through the Constitution and come. It's not something where this is education, and it's going to
Yes,
happen
ma'am.
right there at the church, Paul
First
Leacock's
Baptist.
church.
Yeah.
First Baptist, thank you.
Yeah.
First Baptist Church beside Queen's Park. It's in a church, but it's not any. We're not gonna get no goosebumps. It's not that kind of thing. You know, it's one where we're going to be learning a whole lot, which we do in church all the time. A lot of the times people have the wrong concept. right? But it's going to be, it's called Recover All, addressing issues of family, gender, and sexuality. And we have from Focus on the Family, we have Glenn Stanton coming in, and Philippa Davis from Jamaica, Davida Maynard Holligan from Barbados, Bishop Vincent Gill is going to be on from Trinidad as well. And I don't know why the poster is doing all of that dancing, but you're
That's
gonna see
me.
this
That's me
poster.
trying to pull it up so I
Okay,
can. Yeah.
yeah. The registration is free, and the registration is free, and so we need people to come out to it. It's free. People are flying in. A lot of these people are paying their own airfare. I know by the time they see this, they're going to tell me that the right wing people are paying for this, because this is so the commission love to talk about right wing and who's paying for what. The people pay their own fare, and people here give money to put them up in a hotel, right? So this is all free to the Barbadian public because people are sacrificing, because this is so important. We don't know. 2024 is when they plan to throw everything at us, right? They plan to throw everything at us. You're going to see Praise Academy there. We're going to give you some more, right? We're going to give you some more from our production, not just the piece that we were disqualified for, but we're going to give you some more parts of the production when you come December 8th and 9th. Okay. Yeah. So I think this is
Awesome.
it. And yeah, this is it. This is it, Pastor Ferdy. Kimar, thank you so much, Pastor Ferdy. You want to close out for us? Dr. Ferdinand
Now, when
Nicholas.
you say close off for us, how do you want me to close off for us?
Not church. Don't send a benediction.
Do you want me to say? I was wondering. I was wondering if you want me to say the benediction or what. Apostle, I must tell you, we have a really good time on this show. Even, I know Marcia shares blows left, right, and center. And I equally do the same. I am appreciative of your involvement in the affairs of our country. I think we need to encourage a lot more of our spiritual leaders, not just to be religious in their expression and terminology. And I'm sure you understand in the context of this show what I mean,
Yeah,
but also showing their interest in what is happening to people.
yeah, I
One of
agree.
the
I agree.
things, one of the things I have consistently expressed was that on the day of separation, Jesus did not ask anybody about tongues, miracles, or any of those things. He asked them, when I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was thirsty, did you give me drink? When I
Right.
was naked, did you clothe me? When I was in prison, did you visit me? And so, in a real sense, people have been asking, where's the church? And I want to encourage those of you on the platform to challenge your spiritual leaders. Go up to them after service or whatever, and be respectful. Don't go up to them like you're going to fight with them, but go up to
Yeah,
them and challenge them
yeah,
concerning the affairs that are happening in our country. Because at the end of the day, Marcia, Kimar, regardless of our religious persuasion, it's going to affect everybody.
that's correct.
And so we need to start paying attention to it. The national insurance bill is affecting everybody.
Uh,
Comprehensive sexuality education will affect pastors' grandchildren. The whole matter to do with the World Economic Forum and the Samoa agreement is going to affect our grandchildren and our great
Absolutely.
grandchildren. And so we need to pay attention to it. And I want to encourage the people on the platform, if you're attending a church, challenge your spiritual leaders to get involved and let their voices be heard. And I'll tell you something, even Prime Minister Oenata recognized the power of the church in a country. 68% of Barbadians have a religious or some form of Christian or religious association in terms of ecumenical. Out of the remaining percentage, we have a large percentage of Muslims and a smaller percentage of Rastas. And I saw Lumumba on tonight, Marcia here tonight. And I want to say that we share a commonality of concern for Barbados. And it is important for us to hold hands together. And there may be those who object to it, but I will hold hands with Lamumba, and I know Marcia will do likewise, and you, Apostle. And I will hold arms with, I don't recall his name, as we did in one of those first events, Marcia, remember, in Independence Square with the Muslims, when we were dealing with the matter of the IADB educational introduction or invasion of the educational system by the IADB, trying to promote the gender matter. And so I want to encourage us not only to challenge your spiritual leaders, but do not hesitate to challenge your parliamentary representatives. Go out to their meetings and make them account. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Challenge them in your constituency meetings. And in addition to that, I also want to encourage you to write in, call in on brass tacks, let your voice be heard. Let the people who are in government know where your concerns lie. And I encourage all of us to do that. But most of all, Marcy, I can put plug in for you. Promote the Marcy Week show for me, please. All right. Share, share, share. I think that's why you always hear her with at the beginning and end of every program. Share, share, share. Okay. This show is doing a lot. And we want to thank you, Marcia, for the initiative. I know you've started some things before, but I'll tell you, we almost hit 500 tonight. I saw the number go up to 496 tonight.
Yeah.
And if
That's
we can
incredible.
if we can just get it out there. And I'll tell you, Marcia, when you're finished, go and look at the YouTube videos and see how many views you've got.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, it is touching people. People are learning, so we're grateful. Well, thanks everybody. I don't want to keep us too late because we have to come back on, work tomorrow. All right. So thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Nichols, Federina Nichols, for being here with us. And you're going to be with the people again for another couple of days. They'll soon know
Yes.
why.
So I heard.
Yes.
I heard.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Apostle Linworth Canterbury, you came in for a short time and you spent the whole journey with us. That's
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
You're part of the family. And
Yeah.
of course, Kimar, thank you so much. And we know when your birthday comes, you will all be 50. I changed it from 40 to 50.
Marcia,
December 9th, people.
just two quick things, Marcia, before we go off of the show. And I think it would be in place of me to express our condolences to oh dear me, Richard Stout's family. The passing of Richard I think it was over the weekend. I think it would be in place for us to extend our condolences to his family and all of those who look so much to Richard and came through his influence and efforts. We want to extend condolences, and also we want you to keep Caswell in your prayers. He's not well tonight, which is why he's missing. But we do pray for you, Caswell, that you will improve and be with us on the show on Wednesday night. It's just not the same when he's missing. Just not the same. So we want to have him back on as well. All right. And a great night to all of you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night. Bye-bye.
Sleep well.
Be blessed.
Bye, Easy D.
Bye-bye.
Diana Seeley, Aaron Hunt, Tyron Nurse, come on.
Oh, yes.
Diana Seeley,
wow.
Anne
From
Graves, Celia Boyd.
Calgary, look. Tyrone Nurse,
Oh, wow.
Marcia, from Calgary.
Calgary,
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
all over. Thank you.
Goodness.
God bless, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
You. Bye-bye. Good night.